appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by the talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-line broadcast bunker on the beautiful south coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Hey, kids, Daddy. Hello, Oregon. Hello, America. Are you ready for the rant tonight? I'm ready for the rant tonight. And, of course, joining me is my co-host, Marty. Marty, how you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Yeah, we got a lot to rant about. I mean, there's crazy shit happening on all levels, the state, the feds, the local level, you name it. It's all gone to hell.
Everybody's panicking. Run now. Run, I tell you.
Now.
Run. Yeah, if there's someplace to run, I'd be like, okay, yeah, let's run. But run to where? And for what
Run
reason?
to where? Yeah, that's often what I wonder. Wow, that's not any better. There we go. Oh, those circles are usually bigger. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. So
now I adjusted where my microphone was, so I was kind of curious if I was sounding okay.
Oh no, you sound great. You sound great.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
I just lost the screen for a minute there.
Yeah, I realized I've been putting my microphone up and over the monitors, and I said, these monitors are mounted on the wall. I can move these monitors and put the microphone between them. Duh. And there we go.
All right. Glad you got that all figured out.
Yeah, well, give me enough time. I'll figure something out.
So what's been happening in your world?
Well, I spent a better part of a week and a half in New York State. I've never actually been to anywhere else in New York besides New York City. I used to work in data centers on Wall Street and Madison Avenue and Jersey City and all that good stuff. I have to get my rant liquid going here. So biked the Erie Canal, of all things.
All right, the Erie Canal. I bet it's the same kind of weather as you just left, wasn't it?
Yeah, actually, it was raining in mid-40s the first couple of days. So we decided not to bike, and we decided to go and be tourists in Niagara Falls. And so I actually got to see Niagara Falls in person and got to do the touristy things where you go in this tunnel and you're behind the falls, looking out through the falls, and and then you go to the power center, and they have this whole Tesla display where you can see all this cool Tesla stuff, and and we're not talking the electric car, we're talking the inventor, Nikolai Tesla. But so it was just an interesting trip. It was an interesting exercise in being patient with in-laws. So, fun.
Well, that's understandable. Samantha's joining us. Samantha, how you doing?
I'm good. So was this in California, Marty?
No. It was in New York State. So I was biking the Erie Canal. And the nice thing about it is, the Erie Canal is flat because, well, it's a canal. So there's no hills involved other than the fact that I have not ridden a bike in a long time. And if you haven't ridden a bike in a while and then you're in the saddle for 4 hours a day, wow, talk about butt hurt.
Yeah, I'm sure more too.
It was a week's worth of butt hurt.
That's awesome.
Interesting. Samantha, what have you been up to?
Lots. There's so much elections and my case. I just got word about my case over the last 3 days. So I actually kind of want to talk about Tesla. Marty kind of covered a little bit on Tesla. I don't know if you guys have seen the debate going on between Trump and Elon
Right.
lately. Okay.
I love the theater. It's such a great theater.
I happen to think that it kind of does have to do a little bit with Tesla. So, do you guys want to hear my theory?
Sure, go for it. I'd love to hear
Go
this.
right ahead. That's what the rant's all about. We all come out with our theories, and then we talk about them, and then we just enjoy the fact that it's a free for all. It's a rant. It's Friday. That's what we're supposed to do.
That's true.
So,
That's true. I know
go.
I don't have an alcoholic drink right next to me. I would have, so
I've got one.
I know I know Marty does.
Mine, mine's cannabis infused.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so within an hour you'll be out then, right? No.
Oh, are you kidding me? I'm an experienced user, my dear.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah. So my theory of all this is, so Trump's uncle John goes back to Tesla days, to Nikola Tesla days, right?
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, that's going back a ways.
Yeah. So here's the story that I've done a lot of research on this. This is pretty, and it's been, so remember back, I think this is during the first Trump administration, during the first Trump 4 years. Okay. Right before the 2020 election, I believe, or was it right after? I don't remember, but right before the 2020 election, they did this whole presentation on John Tesla, like the uncle. He worked at MIT. He was so smart. Remember how Trump was like, "Oh, he was my smart uncle. He was so smart." Blah 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 blah. Okay, he has a connection with Nikola Tesla. So here's the story that I've been reading about and that I've been doing research on the last 4 years or so. So, Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison were competing against each other back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
So who got the money?
Oh, Edison did.
Yeah, right. So if we think about it, who gets the money nowadays? Like, who gets super funded nowadays? The cabal, right? The ones that prostitute themselves out, pretty much, right? Nikola Tesla was probably on the smarter side, but Thomas Edison was the one that got funded, right? So
because he had a better platform. He was better politically connected. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely,
Well,
absolutely.
And Nikola Tesla was basically, he actually worked for Edison for a while. And
Right.
when Edison basically said, anything you invent becomes my invention and I get a patent and you get nothing, he basically said, see you later, alligator.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that Edison invented, 2,400 things or 1,200 patents or whatever. He just ran a bunch of companies and hired a bunch of smart people to invent things. And then had a lot of great PR that was like, oh, look at the marvelous things that Edison has invented, And so, and he amassed a ton of money, whereas Nikola Tesla was basically a loner who was just like the super genius who was like, let's see if I can transmit electricity wirelessly.
For free.
And Edison was like, oh, we don't want that happening.
Exactly. Like, it's so all this was going on, and Nikola Tesla was hard up for money. And guess who had money? John Trump. And so I was reading this document that actually John Trump actually housed him. Like, he was living in one of his housing complexes or something. I can't find it now, but I read about it way back. So when Nikola Tesla died, and I think he was killed, to be honest. I think so. When Nikola Tesla died, John Trump went in and was actually looking around for the FBI, right, to see if there was anything that the FBI wanted to, seize. The government actually seized a lot of Nikola Tesla's stuff. Okay,
Yes.
so what's that?
They said yes. Yes,
Yeah.
they did.
Yeah,
Oh
and
yeah, most of his notebooks and all of his stuff the day after he died
Was seized by the
mysteriously
government.
disappeared. Yeah.
exactly. Now, here's the question that I have: how the hell did Elon Musk get a hold of that? How the hell is Elon Musk getting rich off of Tesla's brain? Right? That's the question. And then you look back into Elon Musk's mom. Okay. Now, Elon Musk's mom was a trafficker, child trafficker, known, very
Uh-oh.
evil child trafficker.
I didn't know that one. Okay, that's
Yeah.
news.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
We are really getting off into the realm of things, I tell you. So
Yeah,
what does
we're-
this have to do with your trial? Because you
Oh.
were talking about your trial and the new things that came out. This had nothing to do with your trial, right?
No.
No, she's-
I just
no,
wanted to touch on
she's
Tesla. He mentioned Tesla, so I just wanted
She's
to.
off on an Edison tangent, so
I know. Sorry, but
That's all right.
but yeah, anyways, I think honestly it has a lot to do with the trafficking right now, and then so Elon says that Trump is on the list. No, he's not. So his mom is on the list. Sorry, that's my take. That's my that's why I think all this stuff is going on. But anyways,
Throwing
Okay,
it out
well,
there. Throwing it out there.
I can-
see
Right.
see what bites.
I can go into detail on the him saying Trump is on the list. Well, to be honest with you, Trump is on a list because he was the one in Florida that was actively trying to work. He was working with investigators against Epstein. So he was actually, the one guy that would stand up and work with investigators because he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because he was hitting on teenage girls at Mar-a-Lago. And he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago, and then there was this huge case in Florida, and he actually got arrested. He got tried. He got convicted, and they basically gave him a slap on the wrist. But it was Trump that was helping them investigate it. And one time, yes, Trump did ride on his plane, but he rode from Florida to New Jersey because Trump's plane was in maintenance. So it wasn't to St. James Island. It wasn't to pedophile land. It was bumming a ride because they both happened to be going to New York City, so he just jumped on the plane. And so, yeah, he is associated with Epstein, and there are pictures because, hey, they were both multimillionaires in New York City, and Epstein was a big player. I mean, everybody says he was a Mossad agent. He was getting all these people like in compromising positions and videotaping them and taking all this information. But when Trump found out about all this stuff, he basically kicked the guy out. So, is he involved with Epstein? Yes. Is he on a list? Probably. Does it have anything to do with child trafficking?
nope.
You got to know if there was anything, even the inkling of a piece of information, it would have come up. It would have come up in Trump presidency #1,
Exactly.
long before he made it to presidency #2 and presidency #3. So.
Yep.
And that's if you actually believe there's a rift between Trump and him, and that comment was
Oh.
anything to do with reality. This is all a skit. He's putting it on. It's kind of like I'm going to rename the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America. I mean,
Yeah.
And they're buying
and-
it because he needed to get the attention off of that big beautiful bill that he was going to pass. And I agree with Elon on that. To be quite honest with you, I think they should trim that bill. I'm with Rand, Paul, and Elon on that one. I'm a little upset with the big beautiful bill.
Yeah, there's a lot of compromises in that big beautiful bill, and everybody's going, well, how about taxes on Social Security? Well, you can't do that with concessions. You can't do that with rescissions. It's, but there is a lot of stuff in that bill, and it's like anything else. I mean, you have to like pass some stuff that you have to hold your nose to do, so that you can get some of the good stuff going. And there's a lot of, I mean, it's so easy to pick these things apart and go, wow, there's a lot of crap there. Well, that's the way it is with most bills. I mean, if you think the Oregon gut and stuff is a big deal, you ought to see it at the federal level when they do, 1,800 pages to like rename a post office. It's like, what else is buried in that bill? I mean, come on.
And I honestly think that Trump wants a discussion. I don't I don't actually think that Trump is wanting to be that dictator, and I know he kind of sounds like he is right now, but I really think that he wants people to realize, even Democrats, to realize that you have to have a conversation about all this. It has to pass in the House and then the Senate, and people have to debate and have discussion, and it can't just get passed. Like in Oregon, there's no discussion. There's absolutely no discussion. It's just a bunch of propaganda out of people's mouths for 13 straight hours, all about race, all about blah blah blah, unconstitutional BS. Nobody has that conversation, actual conversation. That's what Trump is trying to prompt, I think.
Well, at least they're having the conversation in front of everyone instead of behind closed doors.
Thank you.
I do appreciate that. And I'll tell you what, I would be one of those Republicans who would definitely be holding their feet to the fire, because that's what we have to do with each other in the party. And to do this in the public is great to see, because this is the shit that gets done behind closed doors. You never really get to see it. And for them to be doing it in the open is refreshing. I mean, watching him answer the questions of the reporters, and not only him, it seems like his staff has the freedom to answer a lot
Yeah.
more questions than the last administration.
Oh, every single person is just like Miller is just, you ask him a question and he takes the reporter,
Right.
lights them on fire, and then basically beats them to death with facts. And I'm like
Yep.
going, I love this guy. The press secretary is going, I know where you're going with this question, and how dare you ask a question that dumb, but let's go ahead and address that. And it's just like nobody is like, this is no the Moppet head for Gene Parrott or whatever. It's like people are actually asking. Well, it's funny because people are actually asking questions, as opposed to like going, "What's your favorite ice cream?" They're asking like difficult.
Are they
questions
boxers or
for-
briefs?
Yeah, no, depends. Because
Depends. There depends, I tell you.
probably what he's wearing, but yeah.
This is a good question. Oregon Outlaw 2000 says, I think the big, beautiful bill will enslave us with AI. Now, of all the worries I have with this bill about it being too bloated, adding too much to the deficit, I'm not one of those who's worried about AI. And in fact, I was working on an article and I use Grammarly to write the article. And many times it always gives me suggestions for better sentences. So I'm literally writing with AI doing my articles. Isn't that really kind of what AI is? It's just spitting out, the better ways of writing. I mean, I know there's ways that it could actually, you could just spit in some facts and they put you an article out and stuff. But you know what I mean? It seems like we're all doing this on Facebook, on social media, when you type now. In fact, on the phone, when I text, I'll use a word, and then the word suggestion will change the word as I type it in, and then I'll send it, and then I go back and retype it in. I don't know. That's just AI for me. Is not that bad. I'm not too worried.
There's some autocorrect things that I could do without, and my biggest worry is Plantier getting like this huge AI contract type of thing, and I'm like, yeah, we don't want. I mean, they have AI checking in on us on all our social media right now. The state of Oregon is doing that. State of Washington's doing that. And it's like, that's a little bit annoying because you can automate so much stuff. And of course, the AI is only going to do what it is trained to do. So if it's trained by a bunch of leftist losers, it's going to amplify what the leftist losers are doing. And and anybody watching any of the Terminator films know that if AI takes over, it's not going to be a good ending for any of us. But that's okay. Maybe I'll find Sarah Connor and everything will be okie
But
dokie.
Marty, how would you stop it? How would you stop the AI monster?
Die younger than I'm planning on dying now. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay. Okay, so at least you're admitting there's really, once the genie's out of
Yeah.
the bottle, it's kind of like,
How do you outsmart something that you taught all of your human knowledge and now does it a million times faster than you do?
good point.
What, turn off the grid?
Are you afraid, Sam? Are you worried about AI?
Actually, I was thinking about that the other day, and my take on it is I'm actually glad that Trump's doing this whole, like, how there's normally 40 hours in a week. I heard that he's cutting it down to 32, and then anything beyond that, beyond 32 hours, is overtime. He's also, my friend actually told me too, and this is all from a friend of mine who works at the post office, and she's actually showing me all this stuff that Trump is doing for them, for the workers at the post office. And so she showed me this other thing where women can retire as long as they have worked 30 years of their life. They can retire at 51, so that they can get back to their family and do family things. So with this, with us working less hours, women retiring early, I think that AI is going to actually come in and help us out to do the work that that is done now. I think it's there to make it easier for us. Like you were saying, Rob, I don't know how to use it. Believe me, Michaela knows how to use it. And Michaela was telling me today, just use Grok for this and this. And I was like, okay. So I go on and I'm like, Grok, can you do that? And it's like, I can't because I'm dumb. I don't know, and I'm like, okay, I can't get Grok to do anything for me. Never mind. I'm just going to do it myself. So I don't know how to use it.
Back in the days when I used to be a high-tech guy, I was actually working on large language models and artificial intelligence and using AWS, Amazon Web Services, because they have a huge computing infrastructure that you can get access to, and you can buy it in increments. So you can test out models in small things and pay like a couple of bucks to see how it's going to work out. And then if you want to expand it, you can pay for it as you go. And I was working with artificial intelligence, and like Marvin Minsky at MIT kind of stuff. And it's like any other tool. I mean, it's one of those things where, you can use a hammer to put a nail in the wall to hang a picture, but you could also use a hammer to hit somebody over the head. So it's a tool. True. It's it could be a very useful tool. Think of the tens of thousands of completely useless government bureaucrats that could be replaced with 3 lines of AI code.
Well, that's what I'm looking at when I get you guys get this during the legislative season, I bet. You get all the newsletters. All the newsletters from the representatives and the senators on what they do. And I'm willing to bet 90% of it is AI created for that newsletter. I would just be willing to bet, because I look at those things and it would take hours for them to be writing that much information. And then you compound that with how many of them there are. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, I mean, and they're all, and the thing is you can kind of tell because they all look like they've come out of the same cookie cutter. You look at how some of these people respond, how your representatives respond on social media, or what they say in their newsletters, and you're like, it's not so much cut and paste, but it's obviously something where it's like, I'd like to respond in this manner, and like bloop, it pops out 4 or 5 paragraphs. They look at it and go, close enough for engineering, move on. So
I can't get it to do that. I actually asked Grok to do something for me on X today, and it was like, I don't know. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
I,
I'll just type it myself. I just use my own brain,
yeah, I
So,
asked Grok to do something for me, and then I got in an argument with Grok, and I said there was something wrong with his model, and then he argued with me about how I was petulant because I was arguing with the model. And I was like, really? I'm arguing with artificial intelligence now. And I got
that
it
was
pissed
me
off.
and Siri.
Super.
Yeah, no, I that was me and Siri years back when Siri came out on iPhones and stuff. I was like, "Hey Siri," and she's like, "Nah, fuck you." Sorry, excuse my language. I'm sorry. No,
It's
Oh, it's
Friday.
I
okay.
It's okay.
It's
seriously
Friday.
though,
It's
it
okay.
was like I got into some serious arguments with Siri. So yeah, it's bad. So I
Yeah, but
saw
I
Steve's
was,
post how he
Yeah,
yeah,
he
I
wants.
said,
tried to,
I would like to retire at 52. And, you know, this is not a good idea because we're living a really long time. And people, once they give up work, once they lose their purpose, they lose their will to live. I've seen it many times with people who retire. And 52, I mean, yeah, come on, man. That's, it's
yeah,
who,
I can see I want to stop working at a job I don't like at 52, but I retired a long time ago, and then I just kind of picked up and started doing things that I wanted to do,
yeah,
and then when I moved back to Banton, I was like, well, I'm kind of retired. I'm living on a lake. I'm gonna fish. I'm gonna crab. I'm gonna, go hiking, and then I got sucked into the undertow of election integrity and battling against windmills, and I turned into a real Don Quixote because I was battling windmills. I mean, come on, so it,
Hey, we love you
yeah,
though
so
in election
yeah, but
integrity.
I mean but I understand your point about there was a time right after I retired, and it took me about 6 months where it was like to convince myself that I wasn't my job. I was like so into what I was doing, and then I didn't have that to do anymore, and it was like, come on, you're more than your job. You have other things in life, but you've been doing it for so long. You get into that rut, and it's just like, you know, wow, I'm. It took me a while to kind of get my stride back and go, yeah, I guess I'll learn to fly. Oh, I guess I'll like get back into radio. Oh, I guess I'll do this, that, and the other thing. So
Military has the same issue. When you actually get out of the military or when you retire from the military, that's why we need to go through all these classes to basically become a civilian. And yeah, it's because we have mission after mission after mission after mission. We have all these goals that
yeah,
all these sergeants telling us what to do and how to do it and blah blah blah. We don't have a
right.
life of our own. We're government
yeah.
property, and then we get out of the military and we're like, where do we go? What do we do? What you
Right.
know?
I mean,
Yeah.
it's like when you're at work, there's so many people telling you what to do. You got deadlines. You got to finish that project. You got to blah 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 blah. And it's like all of a sudden there's that void, and it's like everybody goes, "Man, I'd love to retire." And then you actually are retired, and you're going, "Man, I better find something to do. Otherwise, I'm going to become more of an alcoholic than I
You're
am
going to become
now."
even more of an alcoholic. And that's, yeah. And that leads you to, well, where we are today. And I don't
Yeah.
know if you guys have been keeping up
And
with this.
next thing you know, you're on
Samantha,
the Friday night rant.
you're on the Friday night rant, drinking heavily. It's okay. But Samantha, was there anything else you needed to tell us about your trials, anything with your court case before we go any further? Because I got a couple of other issues I want to cover,
Okay.
or rant
Yes.
about, I should say.
So the last 3 days have been pretty. So it's been quiet. So that
Mhm.
so the due date. Okay. So just so your audience knows, I'm contesting my election, and I contested it the right way, on time, all this stuff. But they were basically trying to. They were, what is it called, oppressing my rights to contest or something like that. So they wouldn't take the paperwork at first. So they refused
Yeah.
to take the paperwork, and then they said, and then time goes on, and it's too late for them to submit a motion to dismiss. Then they submit a motion to dismiss too late, but the circuit court still takes it. Okay. Then I have to submit a memorandum for the motion to dismiss and argue my case that actually I didn't turn it in late. They just didn't take it the day that and the laws are on my side. So there's several laws that are on my side saying that if I was there before 5 o'clock, then that starts the case, right? So the judge dismissed it without a reason, didn't give me a reason whatsoever. So it's at the appellate court now. So it's been very quiet over the last month. They had the due date to get the transcripts from the circuit court into the appellate court until the third. They had until the 23rd of May. Okay. Now, mind you, I filed the contest December 16th and I went to trial. I think it was February. They've had all of this time to get the transcripts ready. And I appealed it, I think April. I don't remember what the date was, but they've had plenty of time to get these transcripts ready. Guess what? They didn't get them in there in time. So the appellate court actually threatened to dismiss my case because they didn't get their shit together.
Oh wow, that doesn't that figure.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that this is exactly what they wanted to do, right? But it turns out that the circuit court was like, can we have a motion to extend the due date? Now, mind you, the due date was May 23rd, and they submitted this motion to extend on June 5th.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So okay, get this, you guys. So this whole reason why I have to appeal the case is because the motion to dismiss was because they're saying that I was late, which I was not, and
now
they're
late.
And yeah, well, they were late in the motion to dismiss the first time around, but yet the court accepted it, and now they're late when it comes to the transcripts again. So this works to my benefit because they have a record of being late, but yet they're saying that I was late, and I'm like, dude, that's not going to work.
They should just lose. At that point, they should just lose. If you can't even show up on time with the paperwork, then I'm sorry, you lose. You should have done better. We don't got time for this. The taxpayer doesn't have time for this BS.
Yeah,
well,
and it was in November. Purpose. Yeah, no, it was on purpose. You're right, Marty. And it was the November 2024 election. Mm-hmm. So, and good news, by the way, I got two people. You guys know who those are. I don't know if I can disclose their names or not, but I've got two people to contest their elections. So they will be contesting their elections, and they'll be going through the same thing that I'm going through right now. But I think it's good to keep the pressure on,
Okay.
Yeah, it's probably not a good thing to reveal it because you don't want to, you don't want to get the cart before the horse on this kind of stuff. But
right.
It's a matter of, they are going to slow walk it. They are going to try to, legalese at you. I mean, because we had when we submitted our advisory measures to Coos County and Curry County, we did it on the same day, the same paperwork at the same time. And Curry County was like, "Yeah, we'll put your, we'll put your description in the ballots. We'll put your description in the, what do they call that, the voter pamphlet." Yeah. And Coos County goes, "No, I'm sorry, you're a day late. We're not going to put it in there." And then they said, I said, "Hold on, Secretary of State says this. We're here on time." And they said, "Oh, but Coos County has this thing where, we have different dates than the state." And I'm like, "Well, you never mentioned that before, but okay." And then I looked at the Section 8 of the Coos County article they pointed me to, and I'm like, "Hold on, that's not for this case anyway." But by then, the pamphlet had already gone out, so, they slow rolled me to the point where it was not in the voter pamphlet, but they did it on purpose.
And I hate to go off on the side road here, but it does kind of tie into election integrity, is that we had a election committee here for the county, an elections committee who made the rule that changed the dates from what the Secretary of State had and created our own dates here in this county. And that committee was disbanded unilaterally by an old clerk. In fact, the old clerk who had to resign because she couldn't come up with the backup of the election that you asked for. And this just seems a little bit fishy to me, if you ask me.
Well, and they had an election commission at one point,
Yeah.
and so the election commission made this new rule because they were having problems getting, they had problems getting to the deadline to get it into the voter pamphlet statewide. So they made the time period shorter at the county level, but this was back in the days when it was like hand crank phones and
Right.
whatever. So but the thing is my argument was, one, they were wrong about how they interpreted Section 8, and two, if the election commission no longer exists, then why are we still following their rules? I mean,
Good
shouldn't
point.
we use the state rules if the election commission is no longer here? Why are we still following the election commission rules?
And
The point.
falling back. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, and I was going to say, and it was a moot point because they slowed it down so much that it was like, okay, it's too late to get it into the statewide voter pamphlet anyway, because it's already being printed. So it's like, okay, yeah, you know what, we made a mistake, but so sorry, we couldn't get it in the pamphlet anyway. And
So sad. Too bad.
yeah, and the difference is we got 73% of the people in Curry County said we don't want windmills, and only 61% in Coos County said it. But that's because they didn't know if saying yes to the bill was yes, we don't want windmills, or was yes, yes, we want windmills. So I'm guessing there's probably 10-15% of the people that might have voted wrong or not voted at all, even though 93% of the people that were sent ballots in Coos County voted on that down ballot initiative. And it was so down the ballot, it was on the back side. So it's not like it was next to who you
It
voting for
was.
president. It was like
Yeah.
you had to turn the thing over to vote for 6-219, and
Right.
93% of the people that got a ballot voted for it, but only 60% said we don't want them off the coast. And I'm like, well, if we had something in the voter pamphlet, maybe that might have made a difference. But still, we won 60-40, so I'm not going to whine too much. So,
Right. And then to go back to
rant's over.
Samantha's case is that you, Samantha, are dealing with a judge's discretion, and judges get a lot of discretion on whether they will accept a date, won't accept a date, allow a concurrence or not allow a concurrence. All that is up to a judge's discretion. And you're in Oregon where our judges, well, they suck, for lack of a better word. Except
Oh, I
for
know.
Judge Stone. Judge Stone here in Coos County, I really dig him.
Judge Stone is great. I love the fact that when we were doing the pro se trial, he was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but legally I can't let you do that. So, yeah, and I'm like, okay,
I love how they admit to it. It makes sense, but the law is screwed up, damn it.
Yeah, and I was like, so how about if I try it this way? And he's like, he would kind of give me one of those, and I'm like, okay, let me try it this way then.
Well, that's okay. That's cool that he's actually kind of, it. So here's my issue with like circuit courts, or the judges, is that they're supposed to be the whole reason they were set up is because they were supposed to be working with we the people, and they don't. They work against us. Every time I tried to turn in my paperwork, they refused to take it. And then they were like, well, she's late. It's like, because you wouldn't take the fucking paperwork. Like,
Yeah.
come on, And then they told me about a way that I could do it online, and I submitted it online. But guess what? The next morning at 9:30 a.m., they rejected it. Why did you reject it? Well, because you didn't pay. Well, it didn't prompt me to pay. It says 00 on it. And they're like, well, it costs $300 and some odd. And I'm like, okay, so how do I pay? Well, you got to start the case over again.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, that's why they're telling me that I'm late. I
So-
got it in on time, but
Here's the problem. Here's the problem that you touched on. You said circuit court, county court, and they're two different things, and that's the problem. If we had county courts, we would have a better judicial system because the county courts would have judges that are elected by the county people, the county voters, and every county would have those voters, just like every senator should be chosen by the counties respectively. And we would have a Republican Senate in Oregon right now, but we don't have that republic type of system, and our court system has been regionalized, which regionalism, very bad thing, and we're going to probably talk about that here in a minute. But the circuit court is that regional court where we have had our authority as a county diluted in that judicial system, and that's part of the problem with our courts today is we want county courts, not circuit courts, and they're two distinctly different entities.
Agreed.
Yeah, and we've also been usurped by the fact that when judges, when judges step down, a lot of judges will retire before the end of their term so that the governor can appoint the new judge. And then that new judge now becomes the incumbent.
Right.
And everybody goes, "Oh, well, this guy's the incumbent. I'm voting for him." So what happens is, and they're trying to do this with senator as well, because our senators are going to retire before the end of their terms. Retire is a nice way of saying I think they're going to be arrested and thrown behind bars, but retire before the end of their terms, and the governor now wants the ability to appoint the new senator because we can't let the little people do this stuff. And our argument with the voter rolls, our elections are a big problem. And I don't have a big problem with the machines. I have a big problem with the voter rolls because it's not monitored at the county level. If it was like you have to show up to Coquille and register to vote and prove that you live in Coos County and show up and show an ID and prove you're a citizen, and that was the only voter roll we have, I'd be like, okay, I'm pretty confident that everybody that's voting is somebody that's allowed to vote in Coos County.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's taken over by the state, and the state uses DMV, and they use OHS, and the ERIC system, and it's all done at a national level, and we have all these NGOs that have read-write access to ERIC, which means they have read-write access to our voter rolls. And so they add a whole bunch of people that are ghosts, and they know they're illegal aliens, or they know they're dead, and they know they're not going to argue if they vote for them. So you need a couple thousand extra votes for, some race. Not a problem. We got 2,000 people. We can vote these 2,000 people, and we know they're never going to complain because an illegal alien's not going to step up and go, "Hey, somebody voted for me." And a dead person's certainly not going to step up and go, "Hey, somebody voted for me."
Dead people don't complain a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
So have you guys been watching what's going on in the legislature? I'll tell you what, I'm just disgusted by the legislature. I'm disgusted with the Republicans. They've allowed a bad gun bill to pass, and they could have left. They could have just left the building and denied a quorum to the Democrats, but they didn't do that. If they could have put it off long enough, they might have been able to do it within the 10 days that the legislature is going to end session. And that session is going to happen or end pretty soon now. That ending is happening real soon, but there's some really bad votes going on in there. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Elliott Forest. I don't know if I've talked with you, Marty, about it. Are you familiar with the Elliott Forest?
Well, I watched the when you were talking with the guy the other day. I think it was like Monday.
Yeah.
And Elliott Forest, where Oregon State wanted to turn it into a research forest or something, and then and it's like, hold on, aren't we supposed to be using our forests to create income, like logging and money to come into our county, and and this is how we make money in this state? But
well, they what they're doing is they say that they're going to raise money through carbon sequestration and give out carbon credits to people who want to purchase it. And from what I understand, China is looking to get in on this scheme. It's a total big scheme. And and I think over, I forget how many, like a decade or so, they plan on making $9 million, which is nothing compared to if we logged it and took the proceeds from the timber. And, well,
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, great. We're going to get $9 million by selling carbon credits, which is like, selling monopoly money. And
yep.
I mean, the whole carbon credit thing is a big scam anyway. So Bling. Somebody went bling.
That
But
was
anyway,
me.
wow, you got to watch what you eat.
Yeah.
But but anyway, yeah. So we sell the carbon credits. How much money could we make by logging that? Because the only way you keep forest fires from happening is you log them. I mean, they finally are agreeing that trees actually suck up carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. So it's great for carbon sequestration or whatever. But it's like, but the same thing happens when you grow trees and you log trees, except when you log trees, a bunch of people are employed and we make a lot more money, which goes into our tax rolls, which means we can fix our roads. I don't know if we can fix our schools because fixing our schools is a bigger problem, but it's
Huge
not a
problem.
money issue. It's not a money issue. It's an idea ideology issue. I think
It's
is
a
a nice way to
dumbass
put it.
issue. We got too many damn dumbasses up there. And well, let me read this to you because I thought this was quite telling right here in this article. And if you guys can read that, it says the fate of the Elliott State Forest near Coos Bay has been the subject of intense negotiation for years. But on Tuesday morning, the three members of the state land board, Governor Tina Kotek, Secretary of State Lavon Griffin Valade, and the state treasurer Tobias Reed voted unanimously to support the proposed forest management plan for the Elliott's future that proprietizes research protecting animal habitat, increasing forest carbon storage to combat climate change, and producing income from the sale of carbon credits. Logging would still be allowed in parts of the forest, but would be significantly reduced from previous decades. And the funny thing about this, if you read through this whole article and you read this one paragraph, you would think that those three members of the state land board must be a small percentage of the actual land board, but they're the only three members that are on that board. And they're all Democrats. And
Yeah,
they've always been
yeah.
Democrats. And they're in charge of land that's going to burn. And because of a new bill that was just passed, that bill is SB 147. Make sure that's sharing here. And I'm really ticked off about this. Count them, five Republican senators and 21 Republican House of Representatives vote against this bill to turn the Elliott Forest into a research forest, finally decoupling it from the Common School Fund. And the only two Democrats are the two Republicans in the House that voted for it, David Brock Smith and Limp Dick Anderson. Yep. And there you go. I'm a little ticked up. There was my rant
Wow.
for this evening.
Yeah. Well, and when you get a dick and a DB, I mean, and you get a dick and a DB, and you wonder why they do bad things. You're going, well, they have those nicknames for a reason. So,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
and so and you look at some of the things that have been going through. I mean, this is horrible, and the whole, and there's three people on the land board. It's
Three.
the three Democrats that we despise most,
Yeah.
and, and it's like, wow. I mean, it's like, can you? I mean, getting back to end vote by mail and election integrity type stuff, it's like the only, if you need an example about how corrupt our elections are, all you have to do is look at how the deck is stacked in their favor and go, and then how many people disagree with it and go, yeah, this wouldn't happen if the elections were, free and fair and secure. So but I mean, it's just horrible stuff when they do this. It's like, okay, now the Elliott Forest is going to be a research forest, and we're going to sell carbon credits, and and we'll let you have, $1 out of the $1 billion we can make out of this forest logging and doing, and creating jobs and creating
Right.
industry and creating tax, things that can go into our tax coffers. Here's $1. Shut up, and that's it.
And the sad part is he's bragging that this is going to bring in logging and jobs and they may get up to 50 million feet per year, but that's nothing. They could more than double that, and they would be making quite a bit more money per year than the 9 million that they're going to get after, I think, a decade or something. And from what I understand, the carbon credit market is down right now. It's something that fluctuates. So it could be $30 is what I think they were putting this amount at, and right now I think it's anywhere between $6 and $8. So the carbon credit market is sucking its load, if you can believe that. And this is a really bad thing for Douglas County and Coos County, because we're going to lose jobs. We are going to lose the fact that the forest itself is going to be mismanaged, which is going to increase the likelihood of fires. And this is not something that's made up. This is something in the last century. There were several fires, very catastrophic. This is going to happen again. And what are we going to do? Because they can't sell carbon credits on burnt stumps, and that's going to be a problem. And we don't make any money on burnt stumps. And if they don't manage it, because they want to leave it back to rewilding a good percentage of the whole entire forest, they're closing down the roads, they're closing down access. We're not even going to be able to fight the fires. So they're creating a tinderbox. So I don't know. Maybe I should start a pool. When do you think the Elliott State Forest is going to burn? I mean, I'll throw in $100 and,
Well, they need to cut off our water first. Sorry, Marty.
There you
go.
No,
go ahead. I mean, no, my bet would be on the next time the Democrats need a real big distraction. And it'll be like, oh my God, it's like this horrible thing's going on, and it's all pointing to Democrats doing wrong things. And cue the Elliott Forest starting on fire.
Well, they have to take hold of our water first, though. Remember, how they're really, really, really trying to take control of all of our water. This house right here, runs off of rainwater. They want to meter my rainwater, like they are gods of the rain. Okay.
Yeah.
And outside, I water my yard and my plants with river water. They want to meter that as well. So, they have to continue. So before they can start the fires with the Elliott fire, they have to control our water in that area first.
So I'm talking with a guy who we just did the show. His name is Lieutenant Robert Powell, and we did a show talking about the origins of the fire mapping bill, which they just had to rescind and replace with something much better, and they finally did. They actually did something good this session. After they did something bad, they had to go back and do something good. But we've been talking about it, and the guy I was talking to, we have been he's been telling me about the Detroit Lake drawdown. It has a dam at the lake, and they were going to take out the dam like they did on the Klamath River, but they decided not to do that, and they're going to draw down in the lake, and they're trying to do this to save the salmon. And so we're being attacked on all different levels on our natural resources, and we're being attacked by people who are just experimenting with nature. They're experimenting with the environment. They really don't know what they're doing. And when they were talking about doing the Bandon Marsh, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service biologists looked at us and told us, when we asked them, well, how do you know the dredging that you're going to do in the marsh was the dredging that was originally there? He looked at us and he said, oh, I don't know. We're just going on our best guess. So that's how these government agencies run. And when you have the authority to do that, that's pretty damn scary. And as you can see, I mean, they just shut down the Dunes Fest because of some creature that's out in the beaches. So, they're on their attack everywhere. So I don't know what we're going to do for an economy.
What creature is this?
I forget. I'll look that up.
Really?
Is it the snowy plover?
Oh.
No, there was some creature.
No, I mean, the whole beach, where I live in Bandon, all in, everything on the New River, from basically the end of Beach Loop Road all the way down to 4 Mile. That beach is sealed off because it's snowy plover breeding ground. You can't walk on the beach. And I'm like going, okay, well, from March 15th to October 15th, you can't go on the beach. And I'm like, okay, so do you have any metrics that show that people not walking on the beach is making it better? And I actually ran into one of the people that's running, is monitoring this stuff. And they said, to be honest with you, it's gotten worse because now that there's no people and dogs walking up and down the beach, the predators can just go out there and decimate the snowy plovers. I'm like, so you doing a head count? Do you tell me, well, there are less snowy plovers now than there were before. And I'm going, so if it's going so poorly, why don't you rescind that law? And he's going, no, I don't have that control. I'm just out here counting snowy plovers and telling people to get off the beach. I'm like, yeah, thanks a lot, Sieg Heil. Moving on. So.
Yeah, well, that was the thing that always blew my mind going to Oregon is you go to any wild area and the first thing you have is this huge sign telling you of the 1,000,001 things you cannot do. In fact, I could cut those signs out. Why don't you just put up a sign, Oregon, that says, stop here, you can look, but don't touch. I mean, that would be so much easier. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yourself.
Oh, look over here. That's beautiful. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's beautiful. Don't touch anything. It's delicate.
Welcome to Oregon. Please don't enjoy yourself.
So it says, I found this article and it says, stop your engines. Doomfest in 2025 is officially canceled. And going down here, I know someone who does this. I should have had them on to talk about this. Winchester Bay, for 23 years, off-road enthusiasts have flocked. Let me increase the size of that. I can hardly read that.
I can read it for you. For 23 years, off-road enthusiasts have flocked to the coast of for Dunefest, a festival of all things of all terrains in the Oregon Dunes National Recreation Area. Every year, fans of the event will have to look. This year, fans of the event will have to look elsewhere for their entertainment, as organizers have announced the cancellation of Dunefest 2025 on Facebook. It's been a long and challenging journey, and after considerable effort and exploration of every possible option, we regret to announce that Dunefest 2025 has been officially canceled, wrote Dunefest staff on May 1st. We fought hard to bring the event to life this year. A number of circumstances beyond our control have made it impossible. So, what made it impossible?
So
what did they say in the
creature?
article?
What made it impossible? Oh,
Should I be afraid? Are they gonna crawl? Are they gonna crawl all the way over here?
It's the Dunefest monster that crawls out of the swamp.
I'm actually kind of scared now. Like, what in the world? What creature?
The Martins. Now, I don't know if this is Phil and Gladys Martin who lives down the street, because I know Phil and Gladys Martin. Are they threatening you, Phil?
I mean, and my official first name is Martin, and I'm like, I had nothing to do with this. I mean, please go out and take your sand buggy and run all over the place. Just don't run me over. But yeah. Anyway, in June 2024, the Center of Biological Diversity. Well, there's a name that makes all the little hairs in the back of your neck go up. A nonprofit that seeks to protect endangered and threatened animals sued the U.S. Forest Service. Oh, hey, look, more lawfare, claiming that events such as Dunefest disrupt and destroy the habitat of the martins. On May 1st of this year, the CBD pushed litigation further when they sought an injunction from a federal judge to protect the martins on the improved off-highway vehicle or OHV use. So basically, they got lawfared into the ground by a bunch of the Center for Biological Diversity, a nonprofit. How much you want to bet if we look into who funds that CBD, it's a bunch of annoying people. I think it'd be the nicest way to put it.
It would be. I guarantee you.
Isn't that what they did? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no. And I'm like, a martin, is that like one of those little weasel things?
No, it's a bird.
I don't even know what a marten is. I'll have to look that one up.
They're saying that fest is destroying birds?
Yeah.
What, birds can't
The
fly out of the
nesting
way of a
habitat of
dune
the
buggy?
martins.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
It's
Interesting. Huh.
yeah, I
But
believe they're little birds.
so is this their new owl project?
Well, of course, yes. If it wasn't
Oh.
this, it would have been a frog. It would have been a lily. It would have been whatever the hell else. No, it's a weasel, says Jeff.
It's a weasel. Yeah,
Oh,
no, a
it is?
weasel. A marten is a weasel-like mammal of the genus Martes within the subfamily Aegialae. Oh, I'm not pronouncing that one. But anyway, yeah, they're little weasels.
Oh.
So don't run over the weasels, people.
Oh.
Yeah,
Do
if
they
you're gonna
live in
run
the
over a
sand
weasel,
or something?
I agree with Steve Nye.
yeah,
He's a friend of the Martins. Let's start Dune Fest again as Fuck Martin Festival. I agreed. I agree.
yeah,
The Martin is a weasel. A fucking Martin
yeah.
fucking around, man,
Yeah,
like that.
we're. I mean, we're protecting weasels. Isn't it bad enough that the weasels have a supermajority in our legislature? Now we gotta. Stay off the beach because the weasels are breeding there.
That's
Oh my
why.
God.
That's why, Marty. We have so many damn weasels in the legislature because they have
'Cause they're
overbred
breed.
and overpopulated this state. That's what's happened here.
They're overbred, and you know what inbreeding does is it just makes them stupider. So now we have stupider weasels running our legislature. Come on, we want the dune buggies to run them over. That's what we
Well,
want.
Well, it would explain the way the governor and her partner looks and half of the legislative. I don't want to judge people by their looks, but just saying, they kind of have that. Their family tree doesn't quite branch off, and
Doesn't
every
have any branches. Yeah,
yeah,
there's no
it's
branches in that family tree.
very very scary.
I
So
think Kotex is a man. I don't know. That's just my view. What do you guys think?
I
that's
don't
a
want to
man?
know. It's none of my
remember-
business. I really don't care.
I don't know, and I don't care. But I remember that
Okay.
Saturday Night Live skit where it was called "It's Pat."
Pat,
And it
yeah.
was the gal. Yeah, it was the gal that was playing the guy or the gal, and
Yes.
nobody could guess whether it's a guy or a gal. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I think that skit's gone on long enough. I mean, we get it. We didn't need to live it at a national scale. We don't really
Right.
need any of this transgender. Like, is this a guy or a gal thing? And it's like, yeah. Oh, hey, Kotek and the Martins, isn't it? Wasn't that a band in the '80s? Didn't they do like Walking on Sunshine?
Steve says she has a vag, but I wouldn't even be sure of that. I would be bet she's one of those hermaphrodites where she has both body parts. And
Ooh, that could
yeah,
be.
I'm
maybe.
just,
Strap on, Kotek.
That might be true.
I mean, there are, different other sexes than just there are sex anomalies like XXY or something like that. I forget what the combination
Capital
is.
S.
I may be
Capital-
off on that.
Yeah, there's XX, XY, and then there's what? Capital X
XX,
and
Y. I
lowercase
think-
y, or
I think Rob's right though. There is an XXY because I believe I was a scientist for a little while, but yeah.
No.
I'm pretty
There's
sure.
like an XX apostrophe I or Y or something like that.
yeah,
It's-
AEIO.
That's my cousin. He's an apostrophe Y, baby. Yeah.
But whoever has the Y chromosome has the penis expression. So because the SRY gene is attached to the Y chromosome. What? It's a science thing.
Okay. All
So
right.
I know.
the SRY
But
gene expresses the penis. So that's you've got the what is it called, Marty? The phenotype
What?
and the genotype. So the genotype is the Y chromosome, and the phenotype is the SRY gene, which the phenotype is the expression of the penis. So
Yeah, I'm kind of hung up on the expressing my penis with my Y genes. So I mean,
Yeah,
I'm like,
I
what kind
was.
of-
That
I mean, I've
I
heard of-
did. I got off the track. I mean, wow.
Yeah, I've heard of 501 genes. I've heard of skinny leg genes, but
The Y
I've never heard
genes.
I've never heard of the Y genes that make me express my penis. And I'm like,
I've seen people in jeans, and I go, "Why? Why did you do that?" I mean,
you
I
guys are
think-
gonna make me turn red.
why? I'm like going, why haven't I heard of this before? I mean, all the
Why?
time I was dating,
Why?
all the time I was dating, I just needed my genes to express my penis.
Actually, in the '80s,
Yeah.
Wasn't there a singer who passed out for expressing his penis, and it was actually a sock, and he passed out? I don't know.
I don't remember. I
I don't
remember
remember. Don't
the-
remember.
there was
Um,
there was a gerbil story though. I think it was what was the actor's name?
Oh,
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
yeah,
Richard
yeah.
Gere and
Yeah, yeah,
John
yeah.
Richard Gere.
Travolta. John Travolta took him to the hospital to have a gerbil extracted. Now, most people might think that kind of story is crazy, but the thing is I had a friend who his sister worked in the emergency room at the community hospital. It was the city hospital in the worst neighborhood that all the wildest stories happened at. And she would
Oh,
always
yeah.
come in and talk about those accidental insertion stories, the hole in one. Doc, I fell down and I don't know what happened. Yeah, right, sure. That's how you got a cue ball up the wazoo. And so
Yeah.
she would always have these stories of things that she would extract from the human body. And so a gerbil, if you've heard some of the things this lady has extracted, you would think, that could be possible.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
don't know. I'm
And,
just saying.
I lived in West Hollywood. All my neighbors were gay.
Are
I don't
you
want to
sure,
comment
Marty?
yeah, I don't want to comment about what I know about what I know. Let's just put it that way. I know
Okay.
nothing. I nothing. I know nothing.
No, that was all BS that they made up for the tabloids. It's like one of those devil worshiping stories that they came out with. Everyone, all the kids were being eaten by devil worshippers, and Geraldo Rivera was doing the week-long special on that. Yeah, that was all BS. It was all hyperbolic bullshit.
Yeah, it was all in Capone's vault. Yeah,
It was all
we
in
found it.
Did you watch that? Did you see that?
I did watch that show. I confess I did watch that show when Geraldo had somebody open the wall and it's Capone's secret vault and they opened it up and there was absolutely nothing there on live TV and I was like, wow, what a career limiting maneuver that turned out to be.
So Steve and I had a question here, and Marty, I thought because you're kind of an outsider here when it comes to the Republican Party, and Samantha, she's been rejected from the Douglas County Republican Party, so she's going to be perfect for this next question. But Steve and I, he asked the question. He says, "Can you talk on what will happen with the Republican Party of Coos County?" And the truth is I really don't know. But the last meeting, the meeting ended with a lot of people leaving and hollering at the leadership because the leadership would not admit its failure in the last election, which I think is completely out of tune. I mean, they're just out of touch with them not seeing what a failure this election was and what a failure it was for them not to be organized. And so we've got people who are going to be showing up to the next meeting. And all I can say, Steve, is we need to bring as many people as we can to the next meeting to get as many PCPs elected so that we can have a huge selection of chairs to run for the party because the party's in complete disarray. And Marty, I don't know if you've been keeping up with that, but what do you know about it? What do you want to know about it? Do you have any questions?
I've actually talked to a couple of people, and they basically said, when I said, "Oh yeah, I'm a Republican," but for 20 years when I lived in California, I was the equivalent of a NAV. In California, you have to say that you're a NPP, no party preference. So you can't say you're an independent. You can't say that you're not affiliated because those are actual parties. But anyway, so I got up here and I was a NAV, and then I somebody I wanted to vote for was running in a primary, so I changed over to Republican because I've always been sort of Republican / libertarian / deliver, defend my shores, deliver my mail, stay the hell out of my life kind of guy anyway. And I'm not even convinced about the deliver my mail part. But anyway, he was talking about he used to be a Republican in Coos County, and he got so disgusted with how poorly it was run and how impossible it seemed to change how poorly it was run that he just walked away and changed to being a NAV. And it's bad enough that the DMV changes you to a NAV if you don't fill out the box properly every time you go to the DMV and fill out a form. And it's like, but there is a problem with party leadership. I mean, it's basically the people that are DBS suck-ups that are doing whatever he says, which basically means don't do anything to, keep it low, keep it slow, keep it dumb, keep it stupid, because that's the only way he's going to be able to continue. Because the more people know about this guy, the more people don't like about this guy, and he doesn't want that happening. So, if there's going to be a way to change this, and Danessa getting in there, and uh, Chris Castleman getting in there, that's a start. But we need more Danessas. We need more Chris Castlemans. We
Yep.
need more people that get in there and speak up. And, you know, we need to show up in force and say, this is the Republican Party that we want. We want more MAGA. We want more patriots. We want more people. I mean, the Republican Party of Oregon published like a really nice, like, here's the way that we should be. And I don't think anybody in Coos County has even looked at it more, much less followed it. So,
Right.
when they go to the effort to kind of publish these are the main tenets of what the Republican Party should be, and then they just kind of ignore it. It's like, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are like super disgusted, and they kind of do this psyops stuff on purpose to make sure that the voter base is not going to be invigorated, because that's way you're basically doing this passive aggressive thing where it's like we're letting the Democrats win by
Yep.
making all the Republicans so annoyed, so pissed off, or so indifferent that they're not going to bother to come out. So all we have to do is get, a busload of grandmas and a busload of people we pay $25 an hour to show up to vote, and then we win.
So can I ask questions, Marty?
Please.
So
Please.
Go right ahead.
so you said Danessa and Chris are part of the executive board, right?
Yes.
So which
Yes,
positions are they in?
He is vice chair and she is delegate.
Okay. So what did the rest of the leadership say for themselves about DBS endorsing Democrats?
Okay, right now, from what I hear behind the scenes, and this happened after the meeting when I had left, is that the party leadership is a little ticked off with David Brock Smith, and they're willing to take a vote on censuring David Brock Smith
Oh,
for going out or for endorsing these leftists, and for the reasons that he went after the reasons he didn't endorse the conservatives. And I mean, there's a list of things that we can put into this document, a censure, whatever we want to call it. And that's one of the things that I know was talked about. And we want to change leadership. We want to get rid of the chair because we don't think he's capable of doing the job. He's a nice guy. I like him, but I don't think he's able to do the job. And I think he's going to have to be replaced with somebody who's more professional, who's more on their game, who's more willing to be involved, because the party has been so basically, it has been so it's been disassembled, for lack of a better term. And because it's been disassembled on purpose, intentional, because they don't want an organization functioning, you're going to need leadership that's going to bring that party back together, because we need the party to move forward to get good candidates into office. That's the job of the political party right there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. And the thing is they didn't have to dismantle the Coos County Republican Party because it was in such disarray, and it was already completely. I went to a couple of meetings, and I'm like, I've seen more people show up at like a free cookie festival where it's like, and it's just like, I show up at a meeting, and besides the people that are on the board, there was like 8 people there, and I'm like, really? We've got like 75,000 people in Coos County, and this is how many people show up for your meetings? And then the meeting went on. I was like, wow. And this is as exciting as watching paint dry. And come on, let's show some enthusiasm. Let's get something going here. I mean, at least with Vanessa and Chris, there's some dynamicism there. They can make things happen. I mean, it's sort of like a Ben. Ben is like, take names, kick ass, let's go. And maybe he makes a few missteps, but I'd rather have somebody making missteps, but like grabbing the thing by the reins and going, let's get this thing up to speed. Let's get going here. I mean, the transportation board in
Douglas.
yeah, Samantha,
Yeah.
you could talk about that. I mean,
Yeah.
Ben
Ashley Hicks ran for that. Todd Vaughn ran for it. Catherine Dwyer, I can't remember her. She has two names at the end of that.
Courier.
Curry, yeah, and Courier, and I forget the other people who run for that position, but that was that like you said, they kicked ass on that transportation district.
Well, they got things done, and
Yeah.
they actually saved the transportation regardless of what I think it was DBS that was trying to put a kibosh
Oh
on
yeah.
them. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
just,
No, he was bagging on Ben. He was like bagging on Ben on X and like going, Ben's a grifter. He'll never get anything done. He brought this consultant in without any, and it's like blah blah blah. And it was like months later when he'd saved it, it was like, and DBS, when can we expect your apology? Because Ben was right and you suck.
and
And it
there's
was like,
there's going to be no apology. They don't.
oh,
Yeah,
of course.
they
These
don't apologize,
tyrants,
never.
no, they don't. These
No.
tyrants, they don't have any apology for trying to ruin me,
Oh yeah.
and trying to ruin Michaela's. I mean, to be honest, they really work on the reputation of people. So
Oh yeah.
so it's like as long as we can ruin the reputation of this person, everybody
Yeah.
will see them different, So they just, and well, Rob,
Yeah.
I mean, they
Oh, yeah.
they ruin people's reputation, or they think they do, to be honest, But then when people start waking up, it's like more and more people start to realize, and I think it's going to happen. I think one particular race is what makes me happy here. I mean,
Which one?
here in Douglas County. So, and you guys don't know her, but her name is Elaine Lavington. Sorry, Elaine, that I'm talking about you, but she was part of the I'm behind David Brocksmith. Now, she probably still is. She probably still is behind DBS. But she ran for school board, and she is losing. And when I say losing, because we have a 35-day election with 8 counting days, and there's still time, that
It
she can
goes on
possibly
forever.
pay off the county clerk, and he could possibly make her get ahead, and you know how that stuff goes, right?
Oh yeah.
So so she's losing. We were just at the last meeting in Douglas County that we had, where the elections were for the executive board, where they elected themselves. Kathy Lynn was standing up there saying, we did all this stuff to make our county red. Our county is so red, 3,000 in registrations and blah, 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 blah. And she's bragging and bragging and bragging about how red our county is and how Republican it is. And Elaine's losing to a Democrat.
Right.
How is that?
How can that be?
I know. How can that be? And
how can we be losing to Democrats in Coos County where 60% of the people voted for Trump? How can that be?
Thank you. So
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not happy that she's losing. I voted for her. Okay.
Right.
I'll just say it right out. I'm not happy that she's losing. But Elaine, if you're listening to me right now, come to our side. Come talk to me about election integrity. Come talk to me about how algorithmed these machines are, how our voter rolls are just insane, how there's more registered voters than there are eligible voters. And I hope this makes you wake up, Elaine, because you're spending all that money on those signs and everything, And how come you can't win in a red county, in a Republican county? How come you are losing to a Democrat? Why? Why is that? You know?
So to key on to that point, I spent last weekend at the opening of the Operation 1776 website business. It's a data business. It's for people who are candidates, who have nonprofits, who run businesses. It takes care of your list, all the data you need to know about getting in contact with people, building up your product, reaching out to consumers. And I just happened to be at their meeting last week, and several of the Republican, what I would call the patriot side. We had people like Bueller, Bueller, Dave Bueller, his wife.
Do I?
Yeah.
No, I
Gabe,
don't think so.
Gabe Bueller. That's it.
Gabe. Oh, Gabe.
Gabe. You know Gabe, don't you?
Oh, I don't think I've ever met him, but didn't he run for vice chair, right? For
Yeah,
the
he
ORP?
ran for chair, and there were quite a few Republicans there. Tracy Brumbles from Columbia County was there. There were
Right.
just several people you would know, because I know you were hanging out with them during the event at the Mill Casino. And we were there for this big opening, which was kind of cool. I'm going to tell this story on Monday, but I got kicked out with a two-time Super Bowl winner because someone felt threatened. And we got kicked out of this resort, which was really cool. But and I'll talk more about that, and I'll talk about more about this website on Monday. And I recommend everyone tune in on Monday for the Rob Taylor report. Got to put in that plug. But the thing was that I saw a lot of those people there, and I had talked to them about what was going on at the meeting. And then I had talked to Michaela and a couple of them after the meeting. And from what I understand, the establishment has really circled around David Brock Smith. They have gotten rid of all the patriots on the committees. Anyone that was associated with the patriot groups, they've gotten rid of them, and they put their people in, David Brock people in, and they're circling the wagons. They're closing down any growth because they don't want new people in, because new people means other people will be asking questions. And this is the party we have, and that's the structure that they're trying to impose on the county level. And of course, the county level is you either obey or you're going to be criticized for being a renegade. Am I right or am I wrong in that analysis, Samantha?
Oh, you are absolutely right. If you do not kowtow to the rhino way of thinking, and I'll tell you this. I was in an ORP. ORP meeting. It was kind of a training sort of meeting thing. There was a gal that was on, and she goes, "We need to stop talking about election fraud. We just need to stop talking about it." And I'm just like, what is going on with you? And I told her flat out, I'm not going to stop talking about it. It exists and it's there. You need to know the truth. You need to educate yourself. Knowledge is power. And she kept saying it. She just kept saying, we need to stop talking about it. And it's literally the rhino way of thinking is election fraud doesn't exist. We got to stop talking about it. Dr. Frank is a grifter and Mike Lindell is a crazy man,
Right.
And it's like, are you out of your mind? Like, you've had how long to think about this? And if you don't think on their level of election fraud is absolutely, it doesn't exist at all. Trump won CCC, then you are an outcast. You are a what did they call me? Batshit crazy, I think is what
batshit crazy. Yeah, well, yeah, me and Marty get called quite a few different things, but that's exactly what you're talking about. Is exactly what we have experienced, and the party itself is that the reason they do that, the reason that they want to stop election integrity is because I think it benefits them in certain counties because they have their own corruption going on. But I know it benefits their Democrat allies that they have that we know that they're hanging out with. You know, the elite is it's hard to separate them. In fact, I think I got pictures here of David Brock Smith at one of the last town halls. Let's see if I can get that up here. You know, there's David Brock Smith right in the background with Wyden at the Wyden Town Hall and stuff. But
Trying
we
to
know,
hide.
yeah, he's trying to hide. But you know, it's even worse in Salem. They go up to Salem, and you know they're palling around with each other, and that's why they don't want to talk about election integrity because that's one of the issues that causes division between the establishment party members. And so they don't want to talk about that. And when we, you know, and that's why, you know, we need to get our people in there. But there's other reasons that we need to get in there because they lack integrity. They're just people who are dishonest and they're voting like the Elliott Forest, Dick Anderson, David Brock Smith. They're voting with the left and they don't even have to because the left has a super majority. They don't even know how to play the game. But unless you think, why would David Brock Smith, what does he get out of voting with the left other than if he runs for governor, he can say to Democrats and to the non-affiliate voters, see, I crossed the aisle on some of these bills. I reached out to the left and we worked together to come to a great deal on the Elliott Forest, and that's how he's going to sell it. But 21 representatives and 5 of our best senators voted against that bill. So screw them, and then screw their political careers.
Yeah, and I mean, and if he was truly okay, he's playing the game, and yes, he's doing everything the left tells him to do and the Democrats tell him to do. But I mean, if he truly wanted to consolidate his base, besides passing political theater bills like the what was it, SB 210, where it was like, we have to have voting in person and got to show ID and all that good stuff, knowing full well it would go down in flames. But the fact that he votes against Republicans and he votes, with Democrats when they don't need his vote, they got a super majority. They don't need his vote, so he should just by rote just say, "Oh, I'm voting the way all the Republicans are." But no, I mean, he's so dumb that he's voting the way the Democrats want him to vote, and basically showing his hand that he is nothing but a puppet for the Democrats. Yep. And it's like the problem is a lot of people don't catch on to that. And yes, having election integrity issues is a problem because, it's like if you don't want to discuss it, the biggest problem I have is when people don't want to discuss an issue, that means that they're hiding something. It was funny when Trump won the election in 2016. It was like you can have video clips of every single Democrat, Hillary, and everybody going, well, we know the machines are corrupt. We know he stole the election. We know that, it's illegal voting going on. And then when they win, it's like, you can't question the election. You're a conspiracy theorist. You're wearing a tinfoil hat. And the problem is they have the media on their side. So they get over amplified and we get drowned out. So anyway.
I think honestly, I think that people are going to have to start waking up.
Right.
That I'm sorry, but if you still really, after seeing, I mean, granted, DBS endorsing Democrats did wake a couple of people up. I saw that, and I was laughing. I was like, wakey, mother. Because
Right.
I mean, this is what we've been trying to tell you, that
Yep.
he is not a Republican,
He's not one of us.
Yeah. So
how many
I don't know.
how many people standing around with knives sticking out of their backs do you have to see before you figure this one out?
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and you're covered in blood. Like,
Yeah.
And then they're still like, well, DBS is a great guy. He chaired the meeting great. And I'm like, wait, who's the chair again? not DBS. Who's the chair? Connie. Why did he chair the meeting?
Yep.
Yeah. Why was he even there? If it was
I
truly the
know.
Oregon Republican Party,
See,
they would have said, "DBS, nice of you to show up. Can you serve people punch and cookies? Because we really don't need you here. Go
I am
away."
so glad.
you
I
don't have the party's elected official directing and running the party, and that's what it looks like. It looks like the elected officials are directing to the party how the party will conduct themselves, and we the people are from the base up are supposed to be deciding what our platform is going to be, what our candidates are going to support. And that's not what's happening with the Republican Party, much like the Democrat Party, but they share the same brain, and with us, it's like Elon and Trump. We have our differences. We're willing to talk about it, but there are certain things that we're not going to negotiate. And if you act like a leftist in a Republican Party, then maybe you should just either join the Democrats or whatever. But don't blame us, because my positions haven't changed. And just like the Elliott Forest here, you're going to love this. The Elliott State Research Forest Board. Look, I received this notice today, and the bill for this, SB 147, was just signed into law, and they've already changed the name on the newsletter that they send out. It used to be the Elliott State Forest. Now already it's the Elliott State Research Forest. Board of Directors will meet in North Bend next Wednesday, June 11th, from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. or 1 p.m. The public may attend in person or via Zoom. Now, I found this to be interesting, and you might like this, the two of you. You can attend in person, and it's at the Shutter Creek facility, the old prison, the mid-level prison out there. And that's at 95-200 Shutters Landing Lane, North Bend, Oregon, 97459, Wednesday, June 11th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I think I'll probably go. That's going to happen in a couple of days. Marty, we should carpool.
Yeah, we should carpool. But my big worry is if they're holding it at a former prison and we disagree with what they're doing, are they just going to lock us up?
Oh.
And then it'll be like, all of a sudden it'll be like, whatever happened to Marty and Rob? I mean, last time we saw them, they were going to some Elliott State Research Forest Board of Directors meeting, and then we never saw them again.
Yep.
Well,
And then we're
we
standing there going, let us out.
We can actually make citizens arrests, though, too, right? I mean, I think there's more of us than there are of them, aren't there?
Yeah.
Just
Look at it. Hi. I got to put this comment up there. And I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Chaim Solomon says, what exactly are they going to be researching in the Elliott Forest? And the answer to your question is, I don't know. I have no clue, but that's not the point. I'm not upset that they're turning it into a research forest. They can do research in the forest. That's not my problem. But the thing is that they're closing the forest down to recreation, to cultural access to cultural lands for certain people who, for certain tribes. And they're also closing access for the public because they're not going to take care of the roads. So we're going to lose more access to our public lands. This is happening now. And not only that, they're only going to be logging maybe 50 million board lumber per year. I forget the term for that.
Yeah, well, the number is unreasonably low. I mean,
way
the amount,
low. It's like driving 11 on when the speed limit's 55, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. You're in the 75 mile an hour zone, but you can only drive 5 miles an hour. But the whole point of this thing is that fine, do your research, but don't lock people out. I mean,
Right.
It's like, okay, we want to save the forest. Save the forest for what, by the way? The people? Because aren't these forest lands supposed to be for the people? Aren't these dunes supposed to be for the people? Yep. Everyone? You're going to lock us off of our dunes because of some frickin' weasel? You're going to lock us out of our forest because you want to do carbon sequestration? Tell you what, the trees are going to suck up carbon whether I'm standing there or not.
Right.
You know,
Isn't
and
there-
they're going to
That's
suck
what
up
makes it a
CO2.
fraud, Marty. That's what makes it a fraud, Marty, because those trees are going to be there whether they do the carbon credits or not, because by law they have to replant after they after they log it. So it's going to be there one way or the other.
And tell you what, you know, the people that really take good care of the forests are the loggers, because that's how they make a living. They
Yep.
cut down the trees, they replant the trees, they clean out the areas so that forest fires don't run rampant. I mean, how much pollution happens when a forest fire happens? Mount Etna just blew up, and it's like more garbage came out of that volcano than all of the human population in the last decade. And why isn't somebody putting a diaper on that thing or putting a plug in it or something? Because, oh my God, you know, it's like what is the carbon footprint of Mount Etna, you know, compared to, like, you know, our forests, where it's like, yeah, sucking in all this CO2 and exhaling all this oxygen. You know, it's like, so yeah, you know what we should do is we ought to have people that care for the forest and get their money from the forest and get their standard of living from the forest and how they live their lives from the forest, take care of the forest. And then, yeah, if you want a research guy to go in there and say, hey, look at that, it's a barred owl. Ooh, look, it's a spotted owl. Ooh, look, it's a snowy plover, martin. You know, it's a snowy plover riding a martin down the dunes.
Right.
Whatever. But I mean, it's like the whole thing is they keep putting it in this, all this, oh, we've got to save the forest, we got to save the earth, we got to save the land. Saving it for who? Aren't we the people that are supposed to be saving it for?
Like it's like we're going to do something with it. Like we're going to stick it in our pocket and stash away with it, you know.
I'm going to
Jeff
throw it in my trunk and drive away with it.
Jeff P has got our back. Don't worry. He says we would break you out before Bubba got you. So, you know,
I know.
And Steve Nye says, Marty, you're spot on. So that's good. You know, they think we're right on, and we got people going to protect us from having horrible things happen to us at the Shutter Creeks facility. And
I don't know if I'm more worried about Bubba or I'm more worried about the weasel coming out of the dunes for me.
I know. It's
look out for the weasel.
It's either weasel or Bubba. What a world we live in, man. Or the forest fire. The forest fire will get you.
Didn't Trump actually? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Didn't Trump actually sign an executive order? I was reading it. It was the timberland executive order.
Yeah.
And basically he was putting
log.
And he was putting BLM on notice and another agency. What was the other agency? ODF.
Department of Interior. It was the Department of Interior. It was specifically, I think it was BLM and U.S. Forest Service.
Okay. Yeah. So what they're doing with the Elliott Forest, that's completely opposite of what I was reading in his executive order, isn't it? Because
here's the difference. The Elliott Forest was created when the federal government gave federal lands to the state government so that they could use the timber on that lands and all the other resources to fund our rural schools. And that's why we were given that land from the federal government, and it's state land. So the federal government has nothing to do with the state land or managing that state land. So you're thinking of the federal land that's owned all over the state. They own about 54%, or if not more.
If you remember right, in the Constitution, they can't do that. In fact, they can have jurisdiction over very specific areas that are 10-mile squares, right? Like the VA, they have jurisdiction over that. It's but it has to be very specific. So with Trump being as constitutional as he is, I have a feeling that the state is going to get their land back. That's my feeling. But
I hope they do. I hope the state does get it back from Trump. But I was going to say, I just read this comment from Michaela. She said, thank you guys for being the highlight of my week. I love this show. And we love you, Michaela. Thank you for being and doing all the things that you do, and we appreciate that.
Yes.
But to your point, you were talking about the constitutionality of the federal government owning land, and they shouldn't own most of the land that they owned out here in the West. In Texas, they own less than 1%, and it's not the type of lands that they have out here in this part of the West on the West Coast. And the one of the ways that they control state lands and commercial lands is through habitat conservation plans, and they lock the lands up for 80 years. That's what just happened here in Oregon to our state land, and this is the federal government imposing regulations in unison with Senate Bill 147 that was just passed with the help of Dick Anderson and, of course, David Brock Smith. But I want to play this video for you that shows David Brock Smith speaking up for the Habitat Conservation Plan. And this woman, Miss Walker, who used to work for the state lands, Oregon State Lands Department, she's an idiot for all intents and purposes. And it's funny, if you talk to anyone who knows this person, they know she's an idiot. She just worked for the Biden administration, which should tell you something about her. But listen to David Brock Smith talking about this HCP that locks up the land for 80 years. And not Diane Walker, but Miss Walker, who is also someone who is questionable. I think you'll find this interesting.
Senator Brock Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I stand to give courtesies to Department of State Lands Director Vicki Walker. Today, we just got in all our emails, hopefully you did as well, the announcement that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has approved the Habitat Conservation Plan and the Endangered Species Act permit for the next 80 years for the Elliott State Forest. Now, that would not have happened without this body, many of the members on the floor, and the work and leadership of Director Walker. We've had a Elliott State Forest that has seen no harvest in quite a long time. It's been costing the Common School Fund nearly $3 million a biennium to manage a forest that we don't see any return off of. Many of my colleagues and constituents don't understand the push that I've worked with the director on getting this done, but now we're going to have between 15 and 22 million board feet of timber coming off that forest, local jobs in that forest, local logs going to local mills from that forest, and the resources generated will assist the research forest that has also been established within the legislation. And again, the courtesy goes to Director Walker for her years of public service, not only in this body, but as leading and at the helm of the Department of State Lands for so many years that she's been there after coming back from USDA Rural Development. She is retiring next month, and she will be dearly missed, and I have sincerely appreciated the opportunity to work with her and these other issues that are so critical to my district and that of the state of Oregon. Thank you.
And thank you, Senator, for that wonderful courtesy extended to former State Senator Vicki Walker, distinguished alumni of this floor. I have a feeling post-retirement she'll have a warm welcome back to the floor from Senator Brock Smith. Courtesies extended to her this morning.
Okay, Vicki Walker is a moron. Okay, I want to put that straight out there, and wow. it's the fact that if anyone who can read the quotes from this woman, she is a tree hugging, grass grazing, daisy spitting environmentalist. You know what I mean? And there's no getting around this. This woman is someone who we definitely did not want in office, and we had to put up with her for I think like 3 or 4 years under Biden. And now we're going to have, luckily she's retiring, but we had to put up with her in the state pushing this habitat conservation plan. And there is David Brock Smith giving her full credit for it when the government anyone who asks the government for more rules and regulations, the government has no problem giving you more rules and regulations. And if you want to take credit for it, I think you're an idiot.
Yep.
Well, and if you
I
work for the Biden administration, I think if you work for the Biden administration, the premier qualification you have to have is dumber than a stump,
Yeah.
because the whole idea is they did not want anybody in that administration that was actually ever going to do anything. I mean, Pete Buttigieg as transportation secretary. What's his qualifications? Well, he's been rear-ended a couple of times, but other than that, nothing. I mean, and it's like the whole thing of, they had a puppet figurehead up there that was non-compos mentis, was a dementia patient, couldn't figure out what direction to walk, because the whole idea is somebody else is running the show. They don't want people that are going to stand up and say, this is what we ought to do. Here's a smarter way to do this. Here's how we can save some money. Here's what's going to make our constituents happy. Oh my God, no, don't do that, because it's going to screw up their whole plans for total world dominance. And that's all
where they're
looking
going.
for. So
yeah.
But you talk about that, and Oregon Outlaw, he made this comment, which kind of coincides what you're talking about with the Biden administration. He says, I wonder what kind of dirt they have on Dave that would make him act this way. And I'll tell you what, I don't know. He's had a couple of trips to China, I mean,
Yeah.
he's known for drinking a little bit, getting out of control. I've seen him at the gambling table. I've heard wild stories about him. How much trouble how much would it take the Chinese to, get him in a compromising position? Just putting that out there.
And doesn't he have some sort of charity that's like a children's building?
Yeah,
That's
no,
empty?
well, yeah, no. There's a number of things. I mean, he got a whole bunch of Tuttle tokens from a guy in California that was a Democrat who ran Newport Asia. He was the managing director for an investment fund that was invested mostly in China, and that now the guy has a house in Gold Beach, and he voted both in California and Oregon, Mr. Tuttle. But he's gotten a lot of money. He's gone to China a lot of times, and he's gotten a lot of money from a guy who is a Chinese investor. So I'm like, I don't know exactly what kind of dirt they have on him, but I bet it's enough that he will do exactly what they tell him to do,
Absolutely.
at any
Allegedly.
time.
All this is allegedly.
This is allegedly. And I'm hoping when Michaela says my jokes are inappropriate, I hope she means that in a nice way. I've,
So,
I've
Marty,
actually had people come up to me and go, I like the show, but sometimes, and I'm former radio, so I rarely, if ever, swear. But at the same time, since this is an open forum and an open show, I will tell jokes that I would not tell to, like, say, somebody's grandmother. So,
yeah. Well, it depends. My grandmother wouldn't have cared one bit. She probably would have told you that joke.
yeah, as a matter of fact, my grandmother was chain smoking and having me pour another whiskey while we're playing, we're playing like Yahtzee or something. So, yeah, chain smoking, hard drinking grandma would love that joke.
You want to go to Shutter Creek? Are you up for a Shutter Creek
Oh yeah,
facility
sure.
trip?
Let's do a road trip. Yeah.
That's Wednesday. What is today? Friday. Oh yeah, that's Wednesday. Oh, that could be fun. Well, I'll get the camera and we'll get there at 9. So I don't know. I'll have to Google this. I don't know how far this is. I think this is like an hour and a half away, or an hour and 20 minutes away, something like that.
From you? Oh, North Bend. So that's it's north of Coos Bay, right?
Yeah, it's
Part
north
of
of
Coos Bay, yeah.
Coos Bay.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't been out there in a while, and I heard the facility got robbed and about $1 million worth of damage was done to it, and they had to come in and redo it, partly because it was moldy. I also heard it was moldy in there, so they're going to turn that into part of the research lab or the research facility. I don't know. They're going to bring in a whole bunch of college kids, a bunch of leftist college kids, and they're going to make sure that they register to vote here in Coos County, so that we turn from a completely purple county to a completely red county. That would be my guess. But this Shutter Creek facility is the way to go. But that was our original guess. That's why they're doing this. Is that they're going to bring in more liberal kids and more liberal biologists and people from academia, and they're going to push out the blue collar jobs. These are the people who live here now: the loggers, the truckers, the people who live in the cafes, the hotels, all the places that are ancillary business to logging. And this is why they want to do this. They want to get rid of us nasty blue collar MAGA voting Trump supporters out here in rural Oregon. And I say, screw you. We should show up. All of us show up to Shutter Creek and tell the Research Forest Board to go screw themselves. So just a thought.
Yeah. And
So were
Chaim
they-
Solomon said Shutter Creek is near Lakeside in the woods, and I looked it up
Yeah.
on a map. So yeah, you go up to past Hauser, go to Lakeside, hang a right, go out in the woods, and go to prison.
What's that, about an hour and 20 minutes? Hour and 10 minutes?
Depends on how I drive. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Probably an hour 10, sure.
Okay.
Are they really going to make this facility into a research? And this is an old prison?
Yeah.
Really?
And they fired everyone in the prison, and they released all the prisoners onto the streets of Coos in Douglas County.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
And they're going to make it a research facility now.
Yeah, for a bunch of weird looking freaky college kids who are going to bring their blue haired and their pierced face and their wokeness, and they're going to come here and invade the woods because this is where they're going to be living at the research facility, and they're going to push out all the locals. This is what they're part of the replacement plan. Didn't you know about this? I'm sorry, you didn't get the memo?
I did not. No, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, and the Sasquatch is going to be so PO'd because it's like, it's because now all of a sudden it's going to be, and and everybody going, oh, you're MAGA, you're part of a cult, and I'm going, I'm not the one with the purple hair, multiple piercings, and a complete body tattoo. I actually know what my gender is, and you think I'm the one that's in the cult? Hold on, buddy. Anyway.
So let me
yeah.
show you. I've been working on this. I've been trying to get this so I can share this. Let me see if I can share this. Okay, let me see. I'm going to have to remove that. Add this to the stage. I was looking this up, and this is the board of directors that is going to that's having this meeting that we're having at Shutter Creek, and Keith Timechuk. I believe he's a Democrat. I'm not sure, but I think he's a Democrat. But he is someone who leans left. He is a big government guy. Then if you look down about number 4 there, you see Melissa Cribbins. Isn't that nice?
There's our favorite, Melissa Cribbins.
And look at it. Look at all these.
Portland, Silas, and Dallas.
Yep.
I mean, what's that have to do with the Elliott Forest?
With the Elliott Forest. Why are these people? From what I understand right now, none of them are from the timber industry. I'll have to check in. The one guy I think that is from the timber industry really isn't from the timber industry. It's like one of those faux timber industry businesses. And
he's into balsa wood. He's into Trex. Yeah, he's like lumber, but not quite.
Yeah. So that's what the plan is that they're going to replace us with all these people that are going to be coming into this research forest. And David Buck Smith and Dick Anderson sold out your children and your children's children unless they want to become a bunch of leftist biologists who want to live in a moldy old Shutter Creek prison, which is kind of ironic. They're going to put the college kids in prison, and they're letting go of the prisoners. Something to be said for that, wouldn't you think?
Well, I think we're actually doing more for the community by putting the blue-haired college researchers in prison and letting the prisoners out, because we don't know the kind of damage the blue hairs will do, but we certainly know the damage the prisoners will do. So, I'd rather go with the evil I know as opposed to the evil I don't know.
Good deal. So to change the subject a little bit, but really not, it's still about government overreach. And Marty, you're going to love this because we went to one of these boring meetings where I thought I was going to throw a hemp rope over the rafters at this school and hang myself in this children's cafeteria, and I was thinking, I guess I can't because the kids will think this is where that guy hung himself because he couldn't take the wind turbine meeting. But I nearly did. I thought about it for a few minutes, and it was better than the other alternatives where I lay waste to the entire room. But these meetings were completely superfluous, unnecessary. It was ridiculous that we had to go through this. But this is the Department of Land Conservation and Development holding coastal community meetings on the state offshore wind energy roadmap. And once again, they have off ramps. I've been telling them let's take the off ramps, but hell no. They want to keep going down the roadway. And Monday on June 16th, this is the Monday following when we get arrested at Shutter Creeks.
Yeah, I know. If we get out of Shutter Creek in 5 days, I'll be at this meeting as well. Even though you are absolutely correct. I mean, if I was chained to a chair at that meeting, I would have gnawed my arm off just to leave. It was so boring and so useless because, Coos County and Curry County have basically said we do not want wind turbines off our coast, in a resounding 80% in Curry County and 60% of the voters in Coos County said we don't want it. Trump has an executive order that basically says we're withdrawing all areas of the outer continental shelf from offshore wind leasing, so there. And yet the DLCD wants to do more community meetings, and the problem is we have HB 3963 trying to extend the study period for the DLCD.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, why are you continuing to study this? Because nobody wants it, and the federal government's not going to allow it. So you're essentially just going, please let me continue to collect a paycheck. And I'm like going, no, get in the unemployment line with the rest of us. So there.
How many copies of the executive order do you guys have to print out for this meeting? Because that's exactly what I would do if I were even going to go to this meeting. I would be printing out Trump's executive order and copies of it to hand each and every single one of them that copy and say, meeting done. Okay, bye. I'll see you.
Yeah, I mean, and when we went to the meeting in Brookings, we brought along the graphics of, here is the election results. 80% of the people in Curry County don't want it. 60% of the people in Coos County don't want it.
Yep.
Why are you here?
Right. There's no reason for them to be.
None at all, other than they're hoping that, I don't know, maybe an assassin kills the president, the vice president, and
They've already tried that twice.
House of Representatives. Yeah, they're maybe that's what they're hoping for. But I'll tell you what, it's ridiculous because they know we have to play the fucking game. And man, you want to hear a rant? This is insidious. This is how evil fucking government bureaucracy is. They have given a directive from the state from the state legislature to this board, this land conservation and development bureaucracy, that they will hold these meetings, and we have to go to those meetings, because if we don't go to those meetings, showing up to say we don't want them, they're going to say, well, then obviously this place wants them because no one was here against them. And that's
nobody said anything bad about it, so they must
nobody
want it,
said anything bad, and that's fucked up, man. That's a sick game. It's really twisted. Kafka couldn't write a novel this twisted. Okay, I'm sorry. This is sick, man. And here we go. We're going to be doing this again.
Yeah, I know. And I was actually quite surprised when you got up and gave a speech at that meeting, because the way you walked up, I was like on, it looks like Rob is just going to go throttle the guy. And I'm like, am I going to have to like, I mean, he walked up and I was like, oh my God, I think he's actually just going to go up and punch, haul off and punch the guy right in the face. And it was like, nope, he got up and he gave a sermon. And I mean, it was fire. It was brimstone. It was, and he did like a good 3 minute, like, fire and brimstone rant. And
Wow.
and I was just like, wow. I mean, afterwards, I was like, wow. I've listened to a lot of your rants, but I think that's probably one of your best. I mean, it was like,
And it wasn't even recorded. I don't know what I was thinking.
yeah, I know. I mean, I actually probably should have recorded it on my phone, just
Yeah.
just for the. And this is where I jumped in to keep Rob from like
Oh
strangling the guy to
yeah.
death.
You missed that whole viral video thing. Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. Yeah,
Shit.
once it turned out it was a speech, I turned off my camera. I was like, oh, I was hoping for the WWF where he like, hit it, took a folding chair and hit him over the head with it or something. Come on.
But see, once again, this is why we call David Brock Smith China Dave. He votes to turn the Elliott Forest into a research forest that's going to be for sequestration. They're going to
Yep.
sell carbon credits. China and companies in
Who's gonna
China
be
will probably
buying those?
benefit from this. And then on top of it, he supported the original bill that created the roadmap for these damn wind turbines. China
Yeah.
Dave, man. China Dave.
Yeah. And you know why China wants to buy carbon credits is because, well, first off, China and India don't have to buy into the whole carbon credit deal if you actually look into the IPC, the Paris Accords. The Paris Accords are a great way to launder money because what they do is they say, okay, the developed countries have to pay all these carbon credits because they're putting out all this carbon and consuming all this energy. But the developing countries, the underdeveloped countries, don't have to pay in. India and China are considered underdeveloped countries. I'm like, my butt. I mean, China has a much stronger economy than we do. And because, well, they're communists and they can force their workers to do whatever they want. But the whole thing is China would, if they had to buy carbon credits, would be buying carbon credits because while we can't build a new coal-fired power plant, they've built 800 in the last 3 years. So who's creating a lot of pollution? That'd be China.
That'd
Our
be China.
pollution is, yeah, the pollution the United States' output has gone down dramatically, whereas
Yep.
India and China have gone up, exponentially. And it's like, but they don't have to pay for it because, well, they're trying to destroy the United States. Just a sec.
And he's a big
Gotta-
supporter of the solar farms instead of regular
Oh.
farms. I like regular farms. I like tomatoes. I like corn. I was checking all the new stuff out in the store and on the road, the side of the road, all the new stands, with all the strawberries and all that stuff. I like farms. I don't
Yeah.
like solar farms. Those things suck. I like regular farms. And
Yeah.
he's for that as well, which is destroying our agriculture land. But who does it benefit? Once again, China. China, 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 China Dave. China Dave.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
AKA Tampon Dave.
Tampon Dave.
Tampon Dave, putting tampons in the boys'
Which-
bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
They're made
Yeah.
in China, You look at those tampons, they're made in China.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. See,
Yeah.
I'm surprised that, if DBS was a little higher up in the national political arena, he could have been Tim Walz. I
Right.
mean, he could have been Kamala's running mate.
He's probably
he's
going to
fat.
try to go there.
Yeah, well, probably. But I mean, when he got up and gave that speech for the idiot, I mean, I was like going, first off, bad mic technique. Secondly, you walked 3 feet, you're out of breath, and you're sweating like a pig. I mean, wow, how out of shape are you, man?
Well, look at him.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
I'm not gonna critique anyone else's in shapeness. I'm quite out of shape myself anymore.
Oh,
Hey,
I
did you
am-
read the meeting
I am a
formats
shape.
to this?
I-
Yeah, you
I
are
am
a shape,
I'm
pear
round.
shape.
Yeah, I'm pear shaped. I'm round. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so meeting formats. They actually got a format to this meeting, and I think we had an idea. Wasn't I going to bring a service animal? I was going to bring a service cow that identifies
we're
as a
gonna bring
dog.
a cow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
only
we
a
need
dog and a pony can identify as a service or can be a service animal.
Yeah.
So if I have my cow identify as a dog, we can do
Yeah.
the dog and pony show at the
Yeah.
at the meeting here.
North Bend Community Center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah,
this.
we have to ask Danessa if we can borrow a cow and then walk in with a cow and go, no, 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 this is, you can't bring a cow in here. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's my service animal. It's my, and it's like, well, service animals have to be dogs or ponies. And I'm like, well, don't tell the cow, but he thinks he's a dog. He identifies as a dog. And don't-
people are
don't tell
asking
him.
why. Why would you
Isn't
do
that-
that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because they're spreading shit, and so I didn't want them to be the only shit spreader at
Yeah,
the
I know.
meeting. So I was going to go
Yeah.
there and spread a little bit of shit that you could actually use. You could take this back to your garden, and where we
Yeah.
should have gardens
Use it as-
instead of solar garden.
And
farms.
use it as fertilizer. Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that would be great. And not only that,
Environmental
but we could go in and yeah, I know. We could go in and say, "Oh man, I mean, it's like you guys are professional shit spreaders. We had to bring
Yep.
something that could match your output. So that's why we brought this cow." I mean, we couldn't borrow a manure spreader from the local farm rental store, so we had to go with a cow. Sorry about that. I mean, our dog. Sorry, our
So
dog.
if you
Spot.
guys go to this meeting, and we're going to be at this meeting, no matter how much it sucks, because we have to be there,
Yeah.
and we're doing
love
our
these
civic
meetings.
duty. I know it sucks. I know, and nobody else wants to be there, but me and Marty will probably be there. Diane will probably be there.
Probably.
Try. I'm gonna
Tina
try to
will
go.
be there. You're going to try to go?
Yeah. I'll have to see. Let's see. This next Monday is one of our meetings. So this is the next Monday after that, I think.
Yeah.
So that means I won't have a meeting on Monday night. So I think I will be able to go. So
All right. Well, bring something comfortable to sit on, because
Oh yeah.
it was painful.
You're gonna
By
need
the
that.
time you get through about 45 minutes, you're like, oh my God, my leg went to sleep. Oh my God, this is why I want to hang myself. My leg went to sleep and he won't shut up.
what do they
And they're
tell
going to
you
play
about?
the same, they're going to do the same slideshow as they did last time, because you can tell by the meeting format. Look at that, Marty. It's the same
Yeah.
fucking thing, man. It's insanity.
So can you ask a question and then go for reading just Trump's executive order? Like, hey, I have a question. What do you think of this? And just read the whole entire thing, and then the meeting's over. I mean,
Oh
is
yeah.
that
Oh,
Lynn,
The meeting
when
got
they had-
rowdy. Let me show you the meeting. You'll like this.
Do I know you?
Wrong one.
it's like
Wrong
what?
All right, I'll send it to you.
And there's one other area you didn't mention that's very important, and that's onshore. We always talk about offshore. Where is this electricity going? There's going to be a lot of transmitting of power back to onshore. There's going to be substations required. How much private property is going to be condemned for the onshore transmission of this electricity? Why is that not being covered and letting the people know what is going to happen to our community here if these offshore windmills are built?
According to Bowen, we have to pay for it. If they come on, we have to build them.
Well, I can try to answer that question at a later point in my presentation, because I do talk about
God, that was boring, because we've asked those questions over and over again, and they refuse to answer them over and over again. It's like I'm living in one of the levels of Dante's hell, and I don't know which level I'm at. The bureaucracy
Yeah.
hell. I don't. What did I call it? The Church of Perpetual Redundancy. That's what it was. That's where I'm at. I'm living in hell, and I'm at perpetual redundancy in the bureaucracy. That's
Yeah.
probably for the first part of eternity.
the church of perpetual bureaucracy, where it's like
Yes.
no matter what we do, they keep coming back with more things that they need to do to tell us that they need to tell us about what they're doing so they can create more meetings and create more committees to tell us about what they're trying to get done, even though they never get anything done, but we're paying them a lot of money to get things done. And if they just tax us more, they'll get things done, but they're going to have a meeting and more committees to find out if they need more meetings.
Don't let them talk, you guys.
So that's what we did in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just did to
Lynn-
you what we're going to do to them. We want you to
Yeah,
be there,
Lynn-
Sam, to do that. Go ahaad. I apologize.
Yeah,
No,
Lynn Coker got up and did the same thing. He was like, "Are you going to let me ask a question?" Go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
No, it reminds me. So you guys know I used to work for ATF, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I worked for ATF under the Obama administration. So it reminds me, that meeting that you just showed me reminds me so much of when I worked for ATF. We had these mandatory trainings on how global warming, or whatever they called it, climate change, whatever they're calling it these days, or back then, we had these mandatory lessons on climate change. Mind you, we were all scientists. We knew more than the educator. Okay, so I'm over here raising my hand, and I was like, "Hey, if carbon's bad, or if carbon dioxide is bad, can't we just plant trees and get rid of the carbon that way?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, technically." And I'm like, "Not technically. No, that's how you would get rid of the carbon dioxide, right? Because plants intake carbon dioxide." And every few seconds, I was like, "That can be helped by planting trees or by planting plants." And he's like, "Yes, but," and I said, and then raised my hand. "So maybe if we get rid of some of the cities, I guess, and or put trees up on roofs or something, and he's like, "Urgh," and he would get so mad at me. But the point is, you don't let them talk. Don't let them educate. And my coworkers actually got very pissed off at me for not allowing him to do this. But in the end, I have a feeling that they're thanking me right now, because there were scientists, and if they figured it out, climate change is a farce and it's not real. And so I'm hoping that they were smart enough to figure. Well, they worked for ATF. Who knows? But I'm hoping that they would actually have been smart enough to eventually figure it out, that climate change was a hoax, and maybe they can thank me later on. But who knows?
Well, my question would be, how long was it? How old were you when you figured out Santa Claus was a fictional character? When I was 4 or 5 years old, I thought Santa Claus was the bomb. Santa showed up, gave me toys, and it's like, oh, the lead up to it, and then the stories, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And then at some point, I got to an age where it was like, Santa Claus isn't real. Well, climate change is kind of the same way. So many people have bought into the whole idea that climate change is so great. We've got to fix climate change, and it's like, this is a cause that we can get behind because we want to save the earth and we want to do the right thing. It's like Earth Day, and at some point they're going to have that Santa Claus moment where it's like, hold on, you mean this whole climate change thing was just a money laundering scheme? And it's like, wow, you finally figured out Santa Claus wasn't real. Well, congratulations.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome.
Marty, we shall overcome.
Someday. Oh, dear.
Ye gads.
So, to what you were saying is, let me stop this.
Well, someday you'll wake up and find out that Santa Claus was fake. And someday these people will wake up and find out that climate change was just an elaborate global money laundering scheme that made the super rich people way more super rich. So,
Yep.
I'm
But
hoping
that's
they realize it.
Yeah.
that's what we should do at the meeting there. To Samantha's point, I'm tired of arguing with these people And oh yeah, Jeff Pete, I know that was boo on that video. I know that video sucks. I was never a big Joe Baez fan, not by any stretch. Yeah, I know. I was playing it for an example. We should unite at the meeting and sing something. You know, we don't have to sing "We Shall Overcome," okay, because that's been done to death. I don't know.
Can we all get ukuleles and go doing like Tiny Tim? Tiptoe
Tiptoe
through
through
the
tulips. Yeah, I like this. I like this. And just don't let them speak for the whole hour and a half. We just waste their time.
Or play YMCA. Somebody get a big speaker and play YMCA. You know, like
Yeah.
you guys know the reference to YMCA and why that's Trump's
Oh
favorite
yeah,
song, right?
you know, and then we
I
have to
have
do
no
the Trump
idea.
dance while we're doing it. Yeah.
I know, right? YMCA. Okay,
No,
guys,
but just
you
do-
guys don't
just do
know.
the- Just do the Trump dance.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So if you guys didn't know the reference to YMCA, you guys.
Oh yeah.
So,
He plays it at all his
exactly. So
I was so surprised when he played that when he was in the Middle East and all these sheiks and all these sultans were like giving him all these accolades and he played YMCA and they're like getting going along with it. And I was just like, wow, this is so cool.
you guys
You know-
have no idea, do you? So
No.
So Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay, the prison in Cuba, used to be a YMCA. That building is
Really?
yes.
I did not know that till just
Yes. So
I
he when he did the first capitulation tour in Saudi Arabia in 20, I think it was 17, he did a sword dance. They did a sword dance for him. He basically, so if you go back to the Global Magnitsky Act, Trump laid out Executive 13818, which is human rights abuses, right?
Yeah.
The Global Magnitsky Act is taking that 13818 and taking it across the entire globe. And he's basically using our military, and he has been since 2017, using our military to basically get rid of the cabal, the human traffickers, the human rights abusers, all across the globe. And when he went on the capitulation tour back in 2017, they treated him like a king because nobody's ever done that for the rest of the world ever.
Yeah.
And he just went back, and guess what? And Marty just said it. They played YMCA, and he did another sword dance. Remember during the inauguration, the second inauguration, he played YMCA, and the sword was coming down, the sword dance. So basically, Trump is saying, so one of two things, and I think it might actually be both, that he is basically the king of the world, like he's the leader of the world, because his executive order is getting rid of the human rights abusers all over the world. Yeah. And then the second thing I think that might have indicated is that there might be some sort of Gitmo facility in Saudi Arabia. So El Salvador, that's the president of El Salvador, has already said, I will hold prisoners that are U.S. citizens. Yeah. And then George Magazine brought it up, and George Magazine said, is there a Gitmo in El Salvador?
Yes,
and it's like, no way. So
Okay.
Yeah, I forget what it's called,
go ahead,
but
Marty.
yeah. No, I was going to say I forget what it's called, but the president of El Salvador has basically said, yeah, we've created. I mean, El Salvador has solved a lot of their gang problems, and they've created this super prison. And so he basically said to Trump, yeah, if you don't have enough room in Gitmo, let me know. I'll let you use my facility. And I forget what it's called. It's like, because I got DLCD stuck in my head, and I know that's not it. But
So I want to go back to DCLD because there was something that I completely missed off that was relevant to what we were talking about earlier. when we were talking about the courts and not being able to get justice in the court system today, especially in Oregon. And I was telling you about regionalism and how regionalism has taken away localism, where we are our own representatives, and regionalism has diluted that representation by creating circuit courts instead of county courts. And if we had county courts, we'd have more local control, and those judges would reflect, the decisions of those judges would reflect more of what the citizens of the county believe than what the bigger area that has been regionalized. And so that's a problem, because DCLD is, and I've been fighting this for a long time. And so I was talking about Lieutenant Robert Powell probably about 40 minutes ago, and we were talking about regionalism, and he started telling me the story about Rockefeller. And the reason I thought this was interesting is because you were telling us this conspiracy theory that you had, Samantha. But I've got another conspiracy theory that I've been working on, and it's about regionalism. And I got sent this book, and the title of this book is called Rockefeller, Regionalism, the Shadow Behind Oregon's LCDC, because we are the only state in the nation, in the entire nation, that has centralized zoning and planning through one agency. And that's a huge problem, because it once again regionalizes the state under the control of one agency, instead of allowing every county and every city to decide for themselves what the planning and zoning will be for their own counties and cities. And so no other country has this, and Rockefeller did it here because he was trying to eliminate private property and have more property for the oligarchy, and have a Fabian type socialism, where Oregon was going to be this experiment for him. It was once again, people might say it's a conspiracy, but it's very well documented. And I thought it was interesting that I got this book. And you were just talking about something that has to do with regionalism, which is communism, because it eliminates representation the same way they've been doing over the last 100 years, moving towards a leftist socialist control. And that's just something that we're experiencing here. And this meeting that I had, that I was showing you guys, that we're going to be going to for the wind turbines on the 16th, it's absolutely ridiculous, and but we got to go. But that's all about regionalism right there.
Yeah. Well, and the whole thing is I love it. I love the fact that when Trump gives executive orders and says no more DEI, and they go, well, you can't tell the states what to do, and it's like, well, great, you don't get any more federal funds. But the states are going states' rights, states' rights, states' rights, and we go, and when we start yelling county rights or city rights, they're like, the state's going, screw you. We got the DLCD to tell you everything that you're going to do in your county, and you can't do anything about it. And I'm like going, yeah, you're the ones that are on the pulpit screaming states' rights when Trump is like going, you got to get rid of DEI. You got to stop doing this. You got to stop doing that. And then they're like, all of a sudden, when it comes to, our rights at the county or the city or whatever level, they're like, oh no, trust the state. The state will tell you, not only will the state tell you what to do, but they'll shove it down your throat. I mean,
they'll shove it down your throat, right?
I mean, like yesterday was the last day to burn. If you wanted to like do any slash burn, or if you wanted to do any burn of stuff on your property, you had to get it done by midnight tonight or midnight last night. And I'm like, well, crap. So if I try to like clean up some of the brush that I'd piled up, I can't do it now. Or if I want to walk on the beach, I can't do that because it's snowy plover season. You can't walk on your own beach. You can't
go to Dune Fest.
You can't. Yeah, you can't go to Dune Fest. You can't walk on the beach. And I'm like, yeah, what happened to the individual rights?
You can't go to Elliott Forest anymore because we've closed off all the roads.
Yeah, we've closed off all the roads. You can't go on the forest and so forth and so on. And it's like, So we're getting farther and farther away from individual rights. And to kind of get to what you were saying, Samantha, is that Trump is not saying, "Oh, I'm the king." He's saying, I am creating a way for everyone to join me in a way to get rid of all these child trafficking and sex trafficking and denial of human rights. And you can all join me. And if you don't want to join me, well, your tariffs are going to be 1 billion%. We have ways to get you to join us, but we are not going to be the military industrial complex anymore. We are going to be the purveyors of peace. We are going to be the people that say, this is how everybody that wants to live free should live. And if you want to join the party, crank up that YMCA tune, and let's dance and have fun.
So speaking of a party, because we've really taken a way off in left field here, but I've got an event coming up. I love it, Marty. I love it. You're going to have to go to the. I don't know, Marty, if you're going to be allowed to go to this event.
When I do the Trump dance, I look like Rock'em Sock'em Robots. I just look. I just.
Oh, that's hilarious. Don't do the Trump dance. Don't do that. That looks painful. Somebody get that man a nurse. He might need some help. Get that man a nurse.
Help me.
I've fallen. I can't get up. So we're having a Flag Day celebration, and this is a celebration. This is not a counter protest, because the Democrat Party and a lot of the other agitators around here and activists, on the left, they're having their event on No King's Day is what they're calling it. And it's the same day as this is happening, but we're having ours at 3 to 5. They're having theirs from noon to 2. So noon to 2, they're going to have their rally at the boardwalk. And hopefully they're going to go on their way. And then we're going to come up and we're going to have this celebration. It's going to be a peaceful celebration. We just want to wave our American flags on Flag Day. And if you want to bring your Trump flag, you're more than welcome. In fact, I don't care what flag you want to wave, because, well, it's Flag Day. I prefer the American flag. I really don't care. And I just want everyone to know that we will have people there who will be looking out for us. And I don't think we're going to have any problems. We've never had any problems at any of our other rallies. But it's been different. Samantha, I don't know if they're doing this in Douglas County, but in Coos County, in Bandon and Coos Bay on the Coos Bay Boardwalk, in Coos Bay, they get about 150 people. In Bandon, they get about 75 people to do a protest against Trump every single Saturday. I think it's been happening. And they're really active. Have they been doing that in Douglas County?
Honestly, I think they started when the whole Ukraine thing kicked off, and they were, instead of wearing vagina hats, they wore like blue and yellow stuff, like for Ukraine. What I really wanted to do is give them a one-way ticket to Ukraine, but they did it, I think, for 2 or 3 weeks maybe, and then I haven't seen them anymore. So they must have got bored. Or, I don't know. Yeah,
that's bizarre, because they've been protesting here like nobody's business, and they really won the election because they were very well organized. They had, if I had a rally, I doubt I could probably get maybe 30 people to show. And this is a red Republican county. Once again, 60% of us voted for Trump, and I would be lucky to get 30 people to show up out of 60,000. And I'm asking all of you that are watching, please show up if you could show up on Flag Day. Show respect for Flag Day. This is a celebration. It's a peaceful thing. We want your kids to come out because we want them to see patriotism. Maybe next week when we get a little bit closer to that time and date, June 14th, let's see, that's next Saturday. Yeah, maybe I'll have some news for you about some of the people who are attending. But it should be an interesting thing. Marty, you want to go to a flag wave? How about you, Samantha?
Yeah,
I'm definitely going.
Yeah, I will be on the coast for sure because our Hilltop Patriots are having a flag wave as well in Lincoln City. So I don't know what time theirs is, but I'm gonna try to make my way down the coast. So
Well, you can go to the Elliott Forest meeting with their board of directors on the 11th at Shutter Creek Prison. You can go there because that's a wild place to hang out. Then on the 14th, you can come out here for the
wave on the
flag
14th.
wave, and then on the
On the
16th,
16th,
wind turbine meeting. We are having a hell of a time
right.
in Coos County. I mean, I tell you, woo, woo! I love
wind
it, Marty.
turbines.
Wind
Wind
turbines.
turbines.
You know, he's going to make millions off those things. He's going to put them out in the ocean. They're going to be the size of the Empire State Building. It's going to be wild. Wow. He's going to make a fortune. He knows Xi Jinping. Yeah, he knows Xi Jinping himself. He can do it, man. Huge turbine.
And they're gonna generate 22 gigawatts of power. Marty, we gotta get back to the future. But anyway,
I love that.
Yeah, 22 gigawatts of power, and the tips of those blades go 88 miles per hour. We'll just keep getting sucked back into the future. Dun, dun. Anyway.
Oh boy.
Promise everything, deliver nothing, blame everyone else. That's the liberal playbook rule number 1.
Rule number 1. And once again, I don't know if this is a man or a woman. It's Tina Kotek.
Pat.
It's Pat. And
Pat.
You know,
For real, it doesn't look like a woman to me.
yeah, I don't like to judge people on their looks. That's not nice. That's not being very nice. But I'll tell you what, if she was a libertarian leaning conservative making all the right decisions, I would be all supporting of her. I'd be all, yeah, our first lady's our governor's wife, the first lady, yeah, she's great. I'd be all in. I'd be all in. I did. Yeah. Well, Pride Day. Who cares if she's making things like cutting the budget, cutting the size of Oregon? Yeah, I would vote for this woman. But well,
Yeah, and I'm not one to stand up and cast aspersions on how somebody looks because I got a face made for radio. So.
And this was hilarious. I saw this
love that one.
X. Yes. What if teachers secretly started baptizing kids at school and hid it from parents? What would the left's reaction be? And I wouldn't want that to happen. I don't think they should definitely not be doing that. But if they did, I would have the same visceral response and a logical response as I do to them wanting to teach our kids that boys can be girls and girls can be boys just by flicking the switch.
Yeah,
or cutting off the switch. I'm not sure.
It points out a vast, their vast hypocrisy where it's like, if we were to start randomly, if we were to start baptizing their kids in school and didn't tell them about it, and forcing a certain religion down their throats, and it's like, well, don't tell your parents, but here's the body of Christ and here's the blood of Christ, and it's like. And shaking water on their head, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's the same. They would get really upset, and it's like, okay, but you think it's bad for us to get upset when you say, you're just gender confused at 8. You're confused about everything when you're 8. That's why you go to grade school.
That's why you're going to school, and you shouldn't be learning about things like that. Just reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's all we want, right, Samantha?
Exactly. That's it.
So let's see. There was I just had them on here. 3H Tree Service. 3H Tree Service. They're one of my sponsors, and if you're one of my sponsors, you have to be badass. 541-294-1800, and he's got that 80. What did he say? It was an 80-foot extension bucket truck.
He had an 80-foot bucket truck, but he wasn't using it on the day when he was on your show because the winds were like 20 miles an hour. And it's like, yeah, I'm not
It
going
was
up
crazy.
that high in them.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I'm not even that. Yeah,
no.
it was
So
funny because
maybe we can.
I went to the still shop in Coos Bay. I had to go buy some parts for my forestry equipment, shall we say. And I walked in there, and they had like 3H tree service stuff up, and I'm like going, "Hey, I know that guy.
Yeah.
He's
Cool.
he sponsors the Rob Taylor Report." And the blue-haired gal behind the check stand was like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Yeah, forget it."
She's cool. She's a big fan of mine. You don't know. I'm all about the
could be.
blue hair. I'm all about the blue hair. You know,
Yeah.
I just got my ponytail cut. It got really annoying. You know, I grew my hair out and
It looks
said,
good.
"Hey, thank you, thank you."
Yeah,
And
no,
so,
nice haircut. I mean, the other day when or a week or so ago when I saw you with the ponytail and the big bangs, I was like, "Oh man, get a haircut, you hippie."
get a haircut, you hippie.
It does. It
It's-
looks good.
Well, you know, it wasn't. It was all about. I'd prefer to have the long hair, but the thing is it's in my face, man, and it's really annoying. And I don't know. I kept finding myself doing shit with my hair to keep it out of my face, and I said that's just too much damn work. And
Yeah,
you know,
I used to spend a lot of time doing this when I had long hair, like brushing it out of my eyes all the time.
yeah, yeah. So no, it's you know, what can I say? But 3H Tree Service, they're a great group of people. For if you need to get rid of those trees, you got a tree that's a liability. The branches might fall on your house. They may fall on your neighbor's house. They may fall on your car. You don't want that to happen. And 3H Tree Service can come in and remove those trees with surgical precision like nobody's business. And they remove all the debris and other such stuff so that you don't even know they're there and leave you with a beautiful view. That's 3H Tree Service, 541-294-1800. And it was cool because I had Dr. Bob Zybach on, the foremost expert on the Elliott Forest. And then I had on with him for the first 10 minutes, I had on Matt Holman from 3H Tree Service, of course. And it was really neat because Matt, he wants to cut down them trees. And Dr. Bob Zybach, the expert, wants him to cut down trees, and yet they don't let him do that in the forest. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah,
why
I
he's
actually
doing
watched-
3H Tree Service, really. He used to be a logger, but now he's doing 3H Tree Service.
And Todd Vaughn used to be a logger.
Yep.
My
Hey, I know
daddy
Nancy.
was a logger. My whole childhood, my dad was a logger. So
Nice.
have fun
It
and
paid
right.
the bills. It paid the
Yeah.
bills.
It did.
And if you Samantha, if you ever have any car needs and you're here in Coos County and you don't know where to go because you got car needs, say you come out here and you visit and you go to a flag wave. After going to Shutter Creek Prison, you go to Shutter Creek Prison, then you go to the flag wave, and then you go to the windmill meeting. And after all that driving, your car busts down. I would recommend taking it to Tom and Gigs at 135 South Shoneman Street in Coos Bay, Oregon. They're in the Empire neighborhood behind the car wash. And if you know the Empire neighborhood, you should know where the car wash is. And I would recommend them. You know, you got a new car, don't you? Didn't you just get a new car?
Me? A
Yeah.
truck. I had to get a truck because, well, that's another huge story about the
Oh, boy.
deep state trying to destroy things for me. So my car's done. Engine's blown.
But if you have car trouble and you're in the Coos Bay area, you got to go to Tom and Gigs. Or if you have RC car troubles in the Bay Area, you need to go to Tom and Gigs.
And they prefer working on trucks because, you know, Tim is getting old like me and like Marty here. And, you know, it's easier for him to work on those trucks because you can stand and lean over the truck, where the cars, you have to lean down. It's a killer on guys our height. And Tim, if you're watching, God bless you out there, you and Shanna. They're the owners of Tom and Gigs, and they do a lot of great things. Excuse me. They do a lot of great things out there. They are the largest store outlet for RC cars on the coast. There's
RC
some of their
cars.
products. They're RC. That's nice. Those are nice. That rustler
Yeah,
down there.
so if you have a real car and you have a problem, go to Tom
Yeah.
and Gigs. If you have an RC car and you have a problem, Go to Tom and Gigs.
Go to Tom and
That's
Gig.
I mean,
huge. That's a really big car.
That
that's
is
a
a big
huge
car.
RC car. Yeah.
And it goes fast. That thing is fast. And the kids, they got these trails out here at the park. They were the bike trails, and so they use them for the dirt cars, the RC cars as well. And they go out there, and not only do they have the RC cars, they got helicopters, planes, and boats. I've been wanting to reenact a boat war at Mingus Park.
Cool.
You know what? And I bet with a little bit of training, we could get the Martins to drive those RC dune buggies, and then it would be like the Martins in the RC dune buggies on the dunes against the humans in the dune buggies on the dunes, and then it wouldn't be we wouldn't
That's
have
a
to worry
great
about the Martins
idea.
anymore. Weasels and RC cars to solve the dune buggy problem on the Dune Fest. I think they're just jealous that I think they're just jealous that the Martins and the Weasels don't have RC dune buggies. I think that's the whole thing.
And they could get, you could stick Martins in like this little white truck here, and they could have it would give them the advantage, and they would be able to survive, and we could all live together in harmony on the dunes at Dune Fest. The Martins and the Smiths
and all the people. Yeah, the Martins and the Smiths and all the people in their dune buggies on the Dune Fest, and all the Martins in their little RC dune buggies in the Dune Fest. It's
Damn
just
straight.
a big happy hodad. I mean, everybody'd be happy.
I think so. Oh, see there's another one. Those
are huge.
That is huge. And this one here is only $380 for this, and they've got all the accessories and parts you need. There's some planes. And there's a helicopter, the Hero Copter, and Tannerite. I'm not supposed to show you guys that. Okay. Now we're to herbal choices. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What do you know about herbs? You knew about cars. What do you know about herbs?
Well, I can tell you that Herbal Choices has many locations across the area, and if you like CBDs, or if you want somebody that can tell you what's the right bud for you, Herbal Choices is the choice to do.
Let me see if I can. And I was drinking one of those great sodas that they got in the refrigerator over there, and it's really great. It doesn't get you drunk. It doesn't get you that messed up. It's like a really good high. It makes you feel really relaxed. And anything with the CBDs in it, I don't know, maybe that can't hurt the hips and the joints and all that good stuff. And I'm not talking about the joints you roll. I'm talking about the joints that you move around with. But I don't know. Samantha, how about you?
I don't know anything about it. I
Good girl.
apologize.
That's okay. No, don't apologize. Like I said, some people choose to partake and some people don't. We think that's a perfect, it's like people who wear masks. I think it's silly to wear a mask, but I support their right to wear a mask. Yeah. And if you want to wear a mask, cool, man, that's cool. If you want to go to Herbal Choices to get your cannabis and you want to wear your mask, I think that's cool too. And so, people should have choice. That's what America's all about, is about having choice. And the thing is when you create laws that make inanimate objects illegal, you're really just making more criminals out of a peaceful population that you probably wouldn't be having to worry about, because they're not really out there committing crimes against others. They're just using something that for some reason the government doesn't approve of.
I call it a thought crime. So I don't know.
1984.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
I'm thinking about using my firearm. That's illegal. Okay. I don't know. I because you didn't commit a crime with it, but it's illegal to even hold it, right? Or to bring it some places, So it's a thought crime to me. I don't know. Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right.
Absolutely correct. I mean, and it's actually gotten even more 1984-esque, more Orwell-esque, if you like, in that not only can you not say what you want to say, but they'll try to send you, they'll spend a lot of time trying to tell you why what you said is wrong. And I'm like, freedom of speech means I can sound like an idiot. I might say something offensive, and I will apologize for being offensive. But that doesn't mean you can come to me and say, well, you can't misgender somebody because that is going to be a misdemeanor now. Because, I'm like, hold on, no.
Right.
Yep. Nope. Nope.
And you can find out more at the herbalchoices.com website. And remember, you must be 21 years or older. And that's not a recommendation. That's the law. They have 5 locations, one in Charleston, one in Coos Bay, one in Bandon, one in Reedsport, and one in North Bend.
Yeah,
And
I get a contact high every time I get a contact high every time I drive by the one in Bandon.
yeah, that's a aromarific area there. Yes.
It is.
One of my favorite stores, though. I know half the staff there because I used to coach them when they were kids. So I go in and they go, "Hey, Mr. Taylor," and it's like, yeah.
That's cool.
Coach Taylor.
No, it is cool. It is cool seeing the next generation. That's the nice thing about living in a small town. I see faces that I recognize, but they're older and they've changed. And, and later on, I'll remember who they are. And they're people that were kids when we first moved here. And now they're adults functioning somewhat in society. And it's like, I remember that kid. I thought he would be in prison. Congratulations.
Yeah, I was in town. I was in town the other day, and I was like going, "Wow, I think I recognize that guy from high school, but look at how old he's gotten." And then I realized I was looking in the mirror. So, or you're hanging with people, that like you used to hang out with years and years ago, and you go, "How am I hanging out with these old people? Oh, wait, I'm the same age. What? How did this happen? Somebody stop it!" But Oregon Firearms Federation. Okay, Samantha, you are a big gun supporter, aren't you? You're Second Amendment supporter.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Okay, you can tell us about this. Then you're a big supporter of someone like Oregon Firearms Federation, who's always fighting for our Second Amendment rights.
I'm trying to do 2A, and it's not working.
Yes, I've actually donated to them. So,
2A.
Are you throwing out gang signs?
No, I'm trying to do 2A, and it's failing egregiously.
Oh, okay. I was like, what gang sign?
Like, 2A. And I'm like, that's not working
sense.
Well at all. Second Amendment, people. There we go.
Wow, he's going to get shot on the way home, and he's at home. That's the scary part.
Yeah, I know.
Oregon Firearms Federation, actually, they are fighting several cases in Oregon right now, aren't they?
Yes.
Several of our constitutional, I will say that those laws in particular, or bills, are unconstitutional, and Oregon Firearms Federation is fighting them in court.
And thank goodness they're fighting them, because nobody else is there to take up the mantle, and they are doing a great job. It's costing them a fortune. I don't know how much they spent on legal fees last year, and thank goodness for the gun owners of America. In fact, in essence, there are only 2 gun organizations that I give to, and that's because of what they do with the money. And that's the Oregon Firearms Federation and Gun Owners of America, because they've been fighting the legislation that's been coming out from the feds, from the states, and on the local level. And Oregon Firearms Federation has been doing the same thing here in Oregon. And there are no compromise gun groups. They believe that any regulation on firearms is unconstitutional. If you want to change it, then change the Constitution. It says shall not be infringed. Change it.
Even the Oregon Constitution.
Yep.
For us to have our firearms freedom. So I believe it's Article 1, Section 27, I believe it is.
27, 28. Yeah.
Something like that. So,
yes.
It's in the Oregon Constitution too. So we have double our rights. But for whatever reason, our legislators do not want to follow not only the Oregon Constitution, not only the Constitution for the United States of America, but they just don't want to follow it. And so That's why I call them tyrants.
Right. You know, it was Kevin Starrett who first tipped me off about the way David Brock Smith and many of the Republicans in the party were voting in the legislature. And it was because he watched the gun legislation, the firearm legislation that went through. And while he was doing that, you get to see all this other stuff. In fact, that video I played of David Brock Smith, I would not have seen if Kevin hadn't called me and said, you got to watch the meeting for the legislation on whatever gun law passed just last week. And I saw him there, and I was able to use that video. Many times, people, don't realize how all of this is interconnected. And Kevin Starrett tipped me off about David Brock Smith. And from there, that's when I started watching his voting record. And when things started sounding weirder and weirder, we just started looking further into his background. And then the Republicans went after Kevin Starrett of Oregon Firearms Federation. I don't know if you knew that, Samantha, but they went after him really hard. And I remember them telling the same stories that they've told about all of us, that they're spreading misinformation and disinformation without telling us what that information is. They made character assassinations. They tried to tell us we were grifters. They tried to say that we were Looney Tunes, all of the same stuff, when Oregon Firearms was helping get Republicans elected and fighting the very laws that were violating our Second Amendment rights. And boy, how do you like that? I got a rant in at the end there.
Yeah, I know. Way to rant over somebody that doesn't even. I mean, OFF doesn't give you any money. They are not one of your sponsors. You're just one of the guys that really respects what they do. So you give them the same space that you would give one of the sponsors, and then you use that as the launch pad for a rant. Like 3 hours into the show, I'm like on. I don't.
Wow.
I'm like on. I don't know if I could like do any CBD soda and be awake at 3 hours. I'm just doing lawnmower beer here. I mean, I'm doing lawnmower beer because I'm like doing low test beer because I've done a few of these shows where I've gotten so drunk I've fallen out of my chair at the end of the show. So it's like, so I'm like going, yeah, I'm doing lawnmower beer, the kind of beer you can have if you and still run a lawnmower and not lose a limb. So,
So I love to promote these guys. They're doing a hell of a job. In fact, I don't have the website up, but the gun bill is gone back into committee. Hasn't come out for a full vote. It should be coming out for a full vote soon, and we'll see. Another organization that I like to promote, they're not my sponsors. We are not connected in any way other than I like the fact that there are people out there who will allow you to hone in your shooting skills. If you own a gun and you own a firearm, you sure as hell better know how to use it. And the Abandoned Gun Club, if you're in the Abandoned area, you can find out more at theabandonedgunclub.org. And they've got a covered shooting range for your firearms or your pistol, which is really cool because it rains a lot here. So you can go out there during the rain and shoot out on the range. And then they got a 5-stand trap. You want to take your shotgun out there and shoot some trap. It's really cool, especially that 5-stand trap. abandonedgunclub.org. And if you want to find out more about Taiga Sports Park, because they're right next to the dump, and you can take your rifle out there and sight in your telescope. A lot of people want to sight in your telescope. You can't do that at the Abandoned Gun Club, but you can do it at Taiga Sports Park, taigasportspark.org. And are you familiar with this group, Samantha?
I am not. No.
I don't know if they'll allow you to be a member, but and I don't know if Douglas County has a Douglas County Neighborhood Watch, but because we decided that we're not going to pay more taxes to the county because we think we pay too much taxes anyway. We started this Coos County Neighborhood Watch to get people connected, and so we could network and outwit the criminals at their own game. You know what I mean? Because it seems like the criminals, they know each other. They're all the same people, probably because they're, 80% of them go back over and over again to jail. They're the same people committing the crime. So they know each other. Well, we got together, and Matt Wilbanks had this great idea, and he created this Coos County Neighborhood Watch Group, and it's been a success ever since.
It's 7.4K. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and I
That's
go.
10%, that's 10% of the county. I mean, the county's only 75,000.
Well, that's honestly, that's pretty good, you guys,
Yeah.
for getting
Yeah,
that
we
many.
do. Yeah, and we don't put up with any nonsense. You get on there and you start messing with people, or if you're one of these bleeding hearts who want to whine about the criminals' rights. You know what I always get mad about people? There's two things that they always forget about rights. They always talk about their rights, but if you want rights, you need two things. You need to accept your responsibility and you need to respect others. That's how you maintain your rights. And these people are not being responsible for themselves. And when you get these bleeding heart liberals who are going, oh, why are you guys showing this guy's picture because he's always stealing stuff? You know, it's not his fault. It's society. Society did this. You know, society is why Marty is all fucked up, you know.
I know. I blame society. This is why I turned out this way. I can't take the blame for everything I've done wrong because society's done me wrong, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
It was the doctors in the laboratory. They told me I was bad. I didn't believe them, but they were right. I was bad.
I told them I was crazy, but they didn't believe me. Why wouldn't they believe me?
You guys could totally be like cartoon characters.
Yeah. Well, another can of whatever marijuana soda this is, and I think that could be any character you want.
That's right.
I was gonna say.
And, ladies and gentlemen, now let's have our next character step up to the plate. Next character, and Samantha has an unhappy cat, so let's bring the cat up on the screen, and we can have the cat character.
Do you hear her?
I heard her meowing earlier, and I'm going.
I heard her
Cat wants
meowing.
food.
Yeah.
Cat wants food, and I know Rob doesn't have a cat. I know I don't have a cat, even though I used to do the Feral Cat Foundation. I was the cat guy. I had 4 cats under management at all times.
Spade and neuter your cats. That's what Bob Barker told me. Spade and neuter your
That's
cats. Take them to a veterinarian. Don't do it yourself. I've tried that. You end up with a lot of scratches, and it's horrible.
Yeah, I can't even wash a cat, more or less spay or neuter one, without getting ripped to shreds. So
I think it's the milk crate. You got to use a milk crate to wash a cat. I think that's the trick.
And the Coos County Citizen Council is...
The Coos County Citizen Council, that is a group of people who are watching our government. We got a group who's watching the criminals, and then we got another group who are watching the other criminals who are in office. And that's the Coos County Citizen Council. And Chris Castleman does a podcast for this group, and he did it this past Wednesday. And he was talking about Lakeside. He was doing a follow-up to the homeless camps out there, and I didn't get to watch it. And I'll probably have him on Monday so he can tell us what the hell he told everyone when he had the podcast on Wednesday that I unfortunately missed. But if you guys can catch it, you can catch it on Facebook at the Coos County Citizen Council. And those are my advertisements. You like how I go through my advertisements? That was smooth like silk.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. If you'd like to believe that, go right ahead.
I like to believe that, man. I want to believe.
I want to believe.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah, no kidding. Well,
anyway,
I'm about done ranting. Samantha, you got any more rants you want to go off on before I get you out of here?
Wait. I just want to bring up one. I want to bring up one thing.
Yes.
So Chris Castleman was doing a thing about the homeless encampments out by Lakeside.
Yeah.
And the ex-prison is out at Lakeside, so shouldn't we turn the ex-prison into a homeless encampment?
Oh.
Well, it was a homeless encampment, except they weren't called homeless. They were called prisoners. And those people who are now outside the prison used to be on the inside of the prison. And I can tell you, the ones in Lakeside, they're the mean homeless. This is the stage of homeless. You get the first homeless guy who's, he's he's happy, he's go lucky, you know, and people, well, he's not that bad. He's just asking for money. And then the other homeless start following that homeless, and every degree gets worse and worse as their criminal level builds, you know. And then you get to the people like in Lakeside who they're child molesters, they're former, some of them murderers, they've committed assault, you name it, these people have done it, and they're armed to the teeth because they have robbed so many houses of firearms. They are well stocked up, and people who think that they're starving, you don't have to worry about it. They got plenty of food littering the forest. All you do-gooders, all you ne'er-do-wells who give them all those supplies, the tarps, the tents, the sleeping bags, the socks, the underwears, well, that's being well taken care of by our tax dollars over in Lakeside. I did it. I snuck another rant in. You see that?
And there we go. We can give them 3 hots and a cot in the old prison. Just don't call it a prison. Just call it we have to come up with a super Democrat way of saying this. It's not a prison. It's micro houses. Yeah, that's it. Oh, it's a 5-minute community. There we go. It's a 5-minute community. And you get your own room, and you get a meal, and for security purposes, we're going to lock you in just all the time. So,
I heard that there were lots of arrests out there. By the way, you guys, like every time I turn on like the Twitter thing with Facebook, I always see arrests out in your guys' area, the coastal area. It's actually kind of nuts. Lots of roadblocks and arrests and stuff. Is there an area for that? Like is that the homeless area, or I don't know that area too well, but I don't know if it's like the homeless area that all these crimes are being caught. And it's by the way, it's traffickers too. It's pedophiles and traffickers that are being caught.
Hey, Marty, Jeff says you saved my ass. What did you do? What did he do, Jeff?
I'm not really certain, but anytime Jeff gives me a compliment, I'm like, thanks. Thank you very much. I'll like it. But anyway, I think it's time for Samantha to do the closing comments, perhaps.
Yes, closing comments, and we got to get out of here. What are your closing comments?
Closing comments are coming up on June 18th at 10 o'clock a.m. In Eugene at the U.S. District Courthouse in Eugene on 405 East 8th Avenue. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to watch Judicial Watch sue our state because of voter rolls.
What date is this?
This is on June 18th at 10 o'clock a.m.
And what courtroom again? Tell us where.
It's
courtroom in Eugene.
2. Yeah, it's courtroom 2, the U.S. District Court at 405 East 8th Avenue. And I can send you that information.
Yeah, because me and Marty may have to make a trip. You know, we'll have to go to Tom and Gigs. I'll have to get my tires rotated over at Tom and Gigs, and then we'll have to go to Eugene.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be awesome. And I know Marty posted something earlier. So Marty, I was reading it, and you might have to answer some questions, but if I'm correct, because Judicial Watch is suing the state, and they still haven't corrected anything. Harmeet Dillon is coming in the picture. Am I right when I say that, Marty?
Okay. Let me do an add-on because yes,
add-on.
The in Eugene they are having oh, now I'm like super close in the camera.
Wow.
Let's see how many nose hairs I have.
I flinched.
Anyway, what happened is that yes, they are having the trial in Eugene, where Judicial Watch is suing Tobias Reed, the Secretary of State, and that's going on. But as of today, the Department of Justice filed a statement of interest today regarding Judicial Watch and Tobias Reed's lawsuit because they are not in compliance with NVRA, which means Harmeet Dillon and the DOJ and all the civil rights people that work for the Department of Justice are getting involved, and they're joining in. And
Cool.
I don't know how to add the link here, but I sent you a link, Rob, on Proton, and I also posted it on a few things and on X as well. And so essentially, yeah, the DOJ is getting involved, and so they've got a 14-page outline of how they are going against the Oregon Secretary of State because they have not followed the NVRA, so the National Voter Registration Act.
If you got the link, Marty, you can you can share the screen by going to the website.
Oh,
You should
which
be able
one?
to share the screen. Just a thought.
You guys, this
Okay.
is so. What I saw, the very top of it, it's like Harmeet Dillon, and I'm like,
Cool.
what the heck? I mean, like, the federal government's getting involved in this. Like,
Yeah.
this is exciting, you guys.
Yeah, that is exciting, and I hope they rip them a new one, and I hope they establish how we do have dirty voter rolls here in Oregon. They're one of the worst,
They are.
and Frank went a long way of proving that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Let's see if I can get this to work. Just a sec.
Can you get it to
Now,
work again?
Well,
And then-
share screen.
I mean, by the way, this just goes to show that anyone, the Republicans, whatever, anyone saying that election fraud is just not true and we need to stop
Yeah.
talking about it. Are you like, I just want to, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's literally all right here. It's documented, right? So how can you deny? So I'm going to say that they're election fraud deniers. I'm using their own language.
Marty,
No, so
I was playing. We were playing tag. You were putting
Yeah,
it
I
on.
know.
I was turning it off.
We're playing screen share tag.
Screen share tag.
Yeah, so I mean, and essentially this is what the DOJ posted today, and so they're yeah. So Harmeet Dillon, Michelle Gates or Michael Gates, and then if you read down here, it's trial attorneys with the Civil Rights Division. So they've got the Assistant Attorney General, the Deputy Assistant Attorney General, and the trial attorneys for the Civil Rights Division are all very interested in this case now.
Nice.
Can you believe this? This is, I mean, when this hit today, I was like, dude, this is like, so I will be in Eugene on the 18th. Definitely.
Cool. So let's get this right. Let's see. What did we say here? What's the schedule now? We got a long schedule here.
Oh yeah, you got to add
Here
that to
we
the schedule.
yeah. Okay. So on the 11th, we're going to the Elliott State Research Forest Board of Directors meeting at Shutters Creek because it's in the prison where all the prisoners are now running around the forest like little nymphs. And then of course we've got Flag Wave on Saturday, June the 14th between 3 and 5. This is very important for all of you who are watching. And then of course we've got the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development holding its unnecessary, superfluous state offshore wind energy roadmap. This is happening on the 16th, and this is happening at the North Bend Community Center. And then all of you can go to Samantha's, or not Samantha's, but Judicial Watch's court case in Eugene. We're going to have a hell of a week in the next.
We got a heck of a calendar here.
We got a heck of a calendar, man.
We got so many things to do. Pardon my, pardon my rolling rock burp there, but yeah.
I imagine
so
that. I think I could just take video and I can record, and that will be my show next week. So my show will be whatever I go out and we do. I'll just tape
Yeah,
you,
we-
Marty. You and Samantha will yell at the wind turbine people, and I'll film it. And you throw
There we
shit,
go.
you know, like the cow. We'll have the cow who identifies as a dog, shitting
Yeah.
all over the place, and you guys can throw that, and I'll film it, and it'll go viral.
I know, yeah.
YMCA.
VA.
Yeah, why? And we can do it to YMCA, and you can do the Trump
Rock'em
dance.
sock'em robots, rock'em sock'em robots. Yeah.
Ah, entertaining.
And I'll go, officer, I'm not with those people.
I have no idea who these people are.
I
I'm
have
sorry.
no idea who these people are.
Oh boy.
Alrighty.
It'll
then.
be good times, I'm sure.
It will be. And so we got a lot going on, and this is why people need to get involved. And this is why we do this podcast. It takes a long
Yeah.
time to talk about all the intersectional connections that happen with all the different meetings. And I hope we tied a lot of it together for you. We hope you tune in the next time we do the show, which I'm sure will be this Monday at 3:00. You can catch me on Rumble, YouTube, and on Facebook. And I want to thank everyone for joining me. Samantha, thank you. I appreciate this.
Thank you.
Marty, did you have any last words?
Let's just say no, because we're 3 hours and 9 minutes into it, and I had to go to the restroom about 40 minutes ago. So
Oh, my.
my,
told you.
my back teeth are floating, and I'm just like going, yeah, we could have covered a lot more things, but we did a lot of great material in 3 hours, and I'm just happy with that, which means we'll have more stuff, and we have such a full slate of things to do in the next couple of days.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's leave on a high note.
Leave on a high note. And I want to say goodbye to everyone working Outlaw, Jeff, Steven, Hyam. Let's see who else do we have here. Michaela,
Yeah, we had a lot.
Phil, I want to thank you for showing up. Steve Nye, I
Steve
want to thank you
Nye.
for Paylene Grout. Thank you for tuning in. Dahlia Grossman. And hopefully I'll see you at the next Republican meeting, Dahlia. That's going on. I don't have that on the schedule because, how many meetings can you put into one show? Damn, man, we got a lot of stuff to do. This is crazy. Well, I'll talk to you all later. And like I always tell everyone, until next time, carry on, Coos County. Carry on.
Bye.